Hey guys, Cameron here. Real quick, I just want to say before this episode starts, we have a special secondary thing at the end of this episode. This was something we had recorded a couple weeks back, and we're not able to get it out due to a couple internet issues. We were then able to save the episode. So after you watch the best of, wait about 5-10 seconds, and there will be another episode of Ready to Ramble dealing with Starcade and a couple of other things, and also we have a pepper challenge. And me and Iffy arm wrestle. You can take a guess who won that one. So that's why this episode looks like it's double long, because it is. There's two episodes strung together. So stay tuned right after Best Of, and you'll see more. Guys, thanks for watching. Go watch wrestling.
Yo, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Ready to Ramble! Y'all, it's just the two of us. It is the holiday season. People are out of town. People are on vacation. The Hyper House right now is probably the emptiest it's ever been. Currently, we do have people running behind the cameras, but a lot of people, Lucas is on vacation. So many people are gone. And also, we took a couple of weeks off. We were trying to figure some stuff out. Wrangling these people's schedules. Because again, like, even though this is the time of year when people go away, this is also usually the time of year when people are like setting up their next year.
Yeah.
A lot of meetings tend to, if you don't,
planning,
if you're not from LA, a lot of meetings can happen around this time where it's like, okay, hey, let's finish signing this or writing this down and blah, blah, blah. And then February, we'll start production and so on and so forth. So there's been a lot of that. So sorry for the absences. But the couple things we did want to talk about, we are going to talk very briefly about Clash of Champions. Because if you're active in our Discord, which you should be, we did have the tally going. But I think we'll find out. Not much to talk about with that pay-per-view.
Yeah, there's a lot of rematches.
Rematch City. We're going to talk about the announcement of the Women's Rumble. And we are also going to be talking about our top 5 favorite wrestling things of this year and our favorite match as well. Kay already sent us her list, so we'll be able to do that. And that's how we're going to end the show. And then we'll see how long. It might take a little while to come back because we got Christmas. As of recording, Christmas has not happened yet. We then got New Year's. Kaori's going to be at Wrestle Kingdom 12. So it might be a little bit before we're back. It'll probably be at some point in mid-January. But when we're back, we'll have a lot to talk about, including Wrestle Kingdom 12. The Rumble will not have happened yet, but we'll at least we'll have a better picture of what the Rumble's going to be.
The best day of the year is the Rumble.
Oh my God, the Rumble is my favorite pay-per-view. I mean, Mania is the big dog. Mania is like when old wrestling fans who haven't watched wrestling in years come back. So that makes that kind of atmosphere exciting. But as far as like a payper-view, it's Rumble.
They cater to making those people happy instead of us nerds that are
I wait all year for this for the Rumble.
who sit there with it. They just sit there with it. But yeah, so let us dive in. So first of all, let's do Clash of Champions.
Okay.
I believe
I have the results for that pay-per-view.
Iffy was the last champion.
If he was the last champion, he was. Yes, he was. I'm very mad because.
And then did he put it in any?
He didn't. But he's the only one who didn't. So he forfeited the title.
He thought he was going to Brock Lesnar this. He thought he was going to sit out a couple pay-per-views.
He's totally the Brock Lesnar.
He thought he was going to sit out a couple pay-per-views. No one was going to go for the belt. He was wrong.
He's wrong.
He vacated. He pulled a Shawn Michaels, lost his smile.
He lost his smile. I lost my smile.
I lost my smile. Tears. With his earring, his big cross earring.
I get mad when you make fun of him because I'm like, no, he lost his smile. Don't talk bad about Shawn.
Although apparently, we'll talk about this. For those of you who do not get that reference, if you go look it up,
please.
Seemingly that might have been him leaving so he didn't have to drop the belt to Brett.
His back was hurting, okay? His back
was hurting. But then he came back for another year to kick Brett out of the company. So,
that was full heel Shawn at his best.
Oh, he's so good. I know. Oh, I was such a big Shawn Michaels head as a kid. And watching that stuff, and I understand all the backstage stories. He was so political. He was difficult to work with. People didn't like him. You know the story about WrestleMania 14 with The Undertaker? Have you heard this story?
No. This is the one where he hurt his back, though, right? Is that
he'd already heard. This was his match with Stone Cold at 14 when Stone Cold won the thing. So one of the things people like to say about Shawn Michaels is Jim Cornette says this a lot. Because Jim Cornette's not the biggest Shawn Michaels fan, having to deal with him, which I totally get. I've had to work with difficult people, and despite their talent, I will still sit there and be like, fuck that guy. So I have no qualms with Jim Cornette not liking Shawn Michaels. But it's either him or his co-host on the Jim Cornette podcast, which if you don't listen to, you should listen to. It's what a podcast.
Man, I struggle because I hate Jim Cornette so much.
Oh, I love it. I love it because he's such an old Southern guy who politically leans on the left. It seems to be a very like, I hate Trump, this, that, and the other, the tax bill, so on and so forth, but has no problem because he's like a 60-year-old Southern man using like just the most un-PC language.
Yeah, totally.
It's so fascinating.
Yeah, the reason why I say I hate him is because I all of his thinking of the Bucks and like just all that stuff.
Oh, yes.
That clip and all that drama going on with him. But yeah, anyway, continue.
Well, so with the story, Jim Cornette and his co-hosts usually say like Shawn Michaels is the only man in WWE to have ever lost the belt multiple times and not actually lost it in a match because he dropped the Intercontinental belt after Mania 10 for injury purposes and then came back like a month later. I lost my smile, so he wouldn't have to lose it to Brett. And then seemingly the only time he ever seemingly lost the belt was to Stone Cold.
That's right. That's when he kicked the door because he was pissed off during Stone Cold's press conference. Shane had to like wrangle him and like.
Oh, that great! If you ever go watch that footage of that press conference. And I think it's Shawn Michaels who grabbed Stone Cold by the face like this, and Stone Cold just goes like this. It's fascinating footage. It's like, oh man, you'd never see that today. These like weird press conferences where they stayed in kayfabe character and would like really seemingly hurt each other. But the story goes at WrestleMania 14 that the Undertaker essentially went to Shawn Michaels and said, because Shawn Michaels was talking about whether it's true or not, this is the rumor. He was going to go into business for himself. He was not going to lose the belt to Austin. He was going to do some kind of schmozzy shenanigans thing. And I guess Undertaker basically told him.
Grabbed him, yeah.
He grabbed him and he said, like, if you do that, if you go into business for yourself, you will not walk out of this building.
That's the OG big dog.
And I don't know if that's been confirmed in any of Shawn Michaels' biographies, but that's a very well-known story.
Yes, yeah. That one, I'm trying to think if I've actually seen him acknowledge it, because what he does now, Shawn Michaels, like what he says about this time of his life where he was
especially
very,
this
very
time, Mania 14, that era,
says, I don't know. If you tell me that I probably did it,
he often
can't remember anything.
That is one of his go-to things. Yeah, exactly. If you say I did it, I probably did it. Yeah. He often talks about himself blacking out and all these other things. He's a very fascinating guy to read about. But yeah, as a kid, I was there at WrestleMania 12 when he did the swing. That was like, as a 12-year-old kid, at WrestleMania 12 as a 9-year-old kid, that was the most like superhero-y thing to see a guy just swing in on it. It was like so dope, and
it's like his hottest outfit too.
And I know
the best gear.
the wrestling internet community and a lot of my friends who love wrestling often talk about that Iron Man match between him and Brett as very boring and long and a lot of holds because they were tired. That all may be true. That's one of those things where it's like you're there live.
Yeah.
So you're like, I love this whole pay-per-view.
Like, yeah, because you were there live, but even going back, I mean, I still enjoyed it because people are mad because they ended there was a whole hour of no pinfalls.
No pinfalls,
and so that's the big problem with it supposedly. But no, I just think it's thoroughly entertaining because they worked so well together.
Gorilla Monsoon was still there. He made them have that death match, and it's so interesting to that's the interesting thing about being a wrestling fan is if you went to events right when you started being a wrestling fan is to look like who blew up, because WrestleMania 12 Stone Cold was still the ringmaster.
Okay.
And his big feud was with Savio Vega at that point.
Oh wow. Yeah, I hadn't even thought about the rest of that pay-per-view or where other wrestlers were at that time.
That was Diesel, Undertaker, and because Kevin Nash had not left yet for.
Who were you excited to see when you were 9 besides Shawn?
Ultimate Warrior.
Yeah, that was your guy.
Because he was coming back. That was the big comeback. It was him and Triple H. It was the big Ultimate Warriors coming back. But yeah, it was Shawn Michaels, Ultimate Warrior. I did love Bret Hart as well, but I was a big Shawn Michaels head. I had the Hart sunglasses, and I do have. I think it's in my house still. I'll have to look. The finger, the foam, Shawn Michaels foam finger.
Oh, yeah. Uh-huh.
I still have that. So
dope.
Yeah, so that and WrestleMania 12 is interesting because that's the era in between the new generation and Attitude Era. It's that 2 years between because the next Mania is Bret and Stone Cold.
Okay.
Where a lot of people feel like that's where the Attitude Era started. So 12 is a fascinating. Yokozuna was still in the company. Vader was there.
That's right, because during the Attitude, because Shawn wasn't really wrestling during that time. Like the beginning, at the start, he came back for commissioner stuff, and that's when he was really, really messed up.
Yeah, he won the belt at 12. And he defended and he ended up losing to Sid Vicious.
Mm-hmm.
I think was it SummerSlam? Someone will correct me. And it was like that. The reason they lost to Sid was was the era of like I lost my smile, and then he won it back, and this whole thing. And then because 13 was originally supposed to be similar to Rock Cena, 13 I think originally in the cards was supposed to be Bret Michaels too.
Mm-hmm.
I think was originally the plan. But then that's when Shawn lost his smile, and then Bret was like, "Well, I want to work with Steve Austin.
Mm-hmm.
I want to work with Austin," because I think he didn't want to do a program with Sid, because that's when Sid lost to the Undertaker.
Yeah.
That was the big 13 main event.
Mm-hmm.
Nostalgia.
I'm sorry. I was thinking about Sid. What was the botch that Sid Vicious?
The leg break.
The leg break, but not besides that. I'm talking about the verbal botch, the promo botch. When he said
he's had so many.
Because they're smart. Yeah, just because I'm twice the bad that you are, and I have half the brain that you do.
I'm twice as smart as you are. I have the brain that you do. And he realized what he said like a half second later, and you see his face like drop, but he can't say anything else.
And they were just like, "Come on, you just had to do something."
Who did he say that to? Was it Nash? Was that Nash in WCW?
I think it was.
Because I think it's like Nash is leaning on the ropes and he smirks.
Yeah, he's like, well, he just said you're as smart as me.
Go look up that footage, everybody. That's homework. Go look up that YouTube footage.
Yeah, that's funny.
So good. But yeah, so let's jump in the Clash of Champions, because as we said, the votes were in. Iffy had forfeited the belt. He lost his smile.
He lost his smile. Okay, so here I'm gonna pull up. I was just looking up the Young Bucks and Cornette stuff in advance. Okay, so this is the Clash of Champions. All right, so we had. So who did you pick for Mojo and Zach?
I think I went Mojo.
I went Mojo as well, and so Mojo won.
Because I love Zack Ryder. I think WWE at this point, unless there's surprises, which actually we'll say the Ziggler match was a surprise.
Yes, absolutely.
You tend to usually see WWE will not back a 10-year horse, which is what Ryder is. There was the WrestleMania surprise, but that was also him going in for Neville, and then he lost it 24 hours later to The Miz.
Yeah,
so
that's right. All right, so we have Ziggler defeating Baron and Bobby Roode. I picked Bobby Roode, I believe. I picked Baron. That's right. You picked.
I think I picked Bobby.
Yeah, none of us picked Ziggler. But Ziggler won. Surprise. So that was for the United States Championship.
That actually, so we can talk a little bit about what then happened on SmackDown.
Yes.
So interestingly, and credit to IGN's Matt Fowler, who again I've recommended him a lot. If you don't follow Matt Fowler on Twitter, do so. Super funny, but also really great wrestling insight. He just did his final ever wrestling wrap up over at IGN. He's done it for 11 years. It was a great weekly article, very funny. I think anyone, even if you only started watching now, I think go back. There's a lot of great, really funny stuff in there. He made a joke about Ziggler looking at the belt. This is the night he won, looking at the belt and going, "This is the ultimate gimmick, and I'm above this," and leaving the ring. And then that happened. And Fowler tweeted, he was like, "I didn't know it would actually happen. It was a joke." And it did happen. So seeming storyline wise, it seems like Ziggler has walked out of the company.
Yep.
Again, that's the storyline as of recording this. We will see what happens next week. That's the other thing too, I guess that's what we're saying, is like next week, this was a big controversy a couple months ago when it got announced that there's going to be a Raw on Christmas.
Yeah,
there's going to be a live Christmas Raw.
There is going to be a live one, and it's pretty sad, to be honest. Like,
I kind of feel bad for those guys. Yeah,
stars. They want to go home for yeah. So think about all their kids. They don't get to. But anyway, sorry. But yes, there will be one on Christmas.
So we'll see. I don't know if there's I guess if there's going to be one on Christmas, there will be a SmackDown on the 26th.
Yeah.
So I guess we'll see the resolve of the Ziggler storyline. Some people are saying that he might come back with like a big ceremony and have his own version of the belt, which I like if he does that. I really, really like Dolph Ziggler a lot. Full disclosure, I've done a comedy show, 2 comedy shows with him. Really good guy in general. I also just think he's crazy talented, and I think it's one of those cases where
he's great.
Ziggler is the previous generation's Bray Wyatt, where you're like, this guy is so good, and it seems like he's only there to give the rub to the new people that the company actually likes. So Ziggler getting the belt was a nice surprise. It also looked like this last year when Ziggler won the Intercontinental belt, it seemed like, oh man, they're finally going to let him do something. So we'll see. This is a fascinating storyline, but it also could just
yeah, totally. Yep. All right, so we have next we have the Usos, the New Day versus the Usos and the New Day against each other, and then also Gable and Shelton Benjamin against Rusev and Aiden English. I did not know what was going to happen with this one. I ended up going with the New Day, taking it from the Usos. Andy picked the Usos to retain.
I picked Usos.
Yeah,
I thought
Usos
it was too much. There was too much going on for it to make sense for the Usos to lose.
Right.
The Usos are very hot right now with just the New Day. There could always be the surprise. I thought if there was going to be a surprise, it was going to be Rusev and Aiden English because they're really getting behind this whole Rusev Day thing.
Rusev Day.
I love it.
I love it. All I want to see now is like, because Aiden English is doing great. But I want to see him do something with the Drifter now too.
Oh my God, please.
The thing is that now people are actually like Aiden, like they actually enjoy that versus people legitimately have heat, for Elias.
Yeah, I agree. So to me, I was like, the Usos are going to retain because it's too big of a weird match, and except for the New Day, who they've already been feuding with, there wasn't
I just thought that they wanted to since it was a throwaway pay-per-view, I thought that they might want to make it so that the New Day had another run and add another number to the big,
I think, and this is the thing that's kind of we're talking about, especially in regards to this pay-per-view, is because the next pay-per-view is the Rumble, which is one of the big four.
Yeah, one big four.
And so they usually tend to like to have the big marquee matches on one of the big four. Mm-hmm. And so I think it's a more interesting storyline to have the New Day chasing at the Rumble than trying to retain.
Yeah, I get that.
And so I think that was the other thing. I'm predicting right now, I think the New Day is going to win at the Rumble. If they're facing at the Rumble, which I think they are.
Right. Okay. All right. Yeah, that's fair enough. All right. We have Natalya and Charlotte Flair. This was a lumberjack match. And this was Charlotte, of course, beating Natty, and so she retained.
I voted Charlotte.
I did as well. Yeah, so that was pretty. Did you think Carmella was going to cash in?
I wasn't actually, because it hasn't happened the last couple. At this point, I didn't think it would.
Yeah.
I thought it'd be a kind of a weird pay-per-view to do it on.
I was thinking they might save that for like the Rumble or.
It feels like it's going to be the Rumble.
Yeah.
It just because I feel like. I think they want to have Charlotte in the pay-per-view at Mania. Mm-hmm. It feels like that's the way it's going to go. And I think.
So do you think Carmella will take it from her?
I think so. And I also just don't know who else on the SmackDown roster at the moment would go up against Carmella. So I think they're going to do some kind of schmozzy loss thing at Rumble. They might do a rematch. Or no, actually, because I think the February pay-per-view is Raw's.
Okay.
So then, I think the big rematch, win it back, will be the Rumble.
Okay.
Or the Mania, yeah.
That's interesting because I'm just thinking about, do they really, their stock in Carmella and their belief in her ability to carry such a big match on the card with Charlotte?
Well, I guess, and this is not to take away any of the because on SmackDown right now you have Natalya, but that feud now has kind of been going on. I don't think that'll go to Mania. Mm-hmm. I don't think it'll be Natalya and Charlotte. You have the 3 new call-ups, which are doing really good work, but they're so fresh and so new that I don't think they're going to be at Mania. So it's kind of like, who else in the women's division on that card, unless there's some surprise. And the other thing, actually, too, we got to say is, and we will really dive into this, is the Women's Rumble.
Right.
And how that plays out, and will it be like the Men's Rumble where
they face Charlotte? Yeah.
If it's the winner of the Women's Rumble, are they going to get to choose whether they do Raw or SmackDown, or is it going to be simply based off of who threw who over the rope?
Yeah.
So my prediction right now, the winner of the Women's Rumble is going to, between the two, is going to be either, actually, you know what? So of who's on the card right now, I think it's between Nia, because going into the Mania, having Nia versus Alicia or Alexa,
right? Because
they're the friends. You're basically slightly doing a repeat of Bray, Randy Orton, but WWE's never above doing repeats. Or Asuka, and I think they would like Asuka.
Yeah, I agree with that.
The third option is Ronda Rousey makes a surprise entry into the Rumble and wins the thing.
I'm thinking that.
And if that happens, it will be Ronda Rousey and Charlotte.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that sounds like a pretty good main event.
Yeah. Because they already kind of teased that at NXT a couple months ago.
They did. That's right. Because they had that weird camera angle too. They didn't even shoot that properly.
Yeah. It was and no one was mic'd.
No one was mic'd.
So you're just hearing
yeah. Yeah.
It was so weird. But we'll dive more into the women's rumble in a minute.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's
Okay.
so yeah, that's where Charlotte and Natty. So it didn't totally shock me that Carmella didn't cash in on this.
Yeah, that's right. And then Natty had her like meltdown. She was already heel, but it was like a further heel turn.
It was weird.
It was odd. I was like, she's
They
like,
don't
You
know-
turned my back. You turned your back on me.
They-
So I'm going to turn my back on you.
They don't know what to do with Natty on this show or Total Divas.
I was just thinking the whole time, Karen, every time I heard her yelling, come on.
Come on, you guys.
She's so talented, but
Every time she does like a sharpshooter, she's like, come on. Yeah.
ah!
Oh, that's great. That's great. All right. Next we had Breezango versus the Bludgeon Brothers, which was pretty obvious. I think we all picked the Bludgeon Brothers.
I picked the Bludgeon Brothers too. I, however, did not think it would be a 5-second squash match.
Yeah, man, they really.
I mean, considering how much airtime they have given to Breezango for all their like TV parodies, you think they would have given him a little more time.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it was nice for Rowan to be on the other side of that now, because remember when he got swapped
Oh
by the
man.
Rock?
Oh brother. What a time.
man. Yeah. All right. Well, that happened. That was a match.
Yeah. I guess you made them a dominant tag team.
Yep. Then we had so this was the big one, one of the big ones. Randy Orton and Shinsuke versus Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn.
I went KO.
I went KO and Sami too because I'm like they're not gonna get fired. Also, I also believed that Randy Orton was just gonna bot out the whole time where he was just like bad, you know.
Yeah, I mean the only swerve would have been because you had the double referee thing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like maybe Shinsuke and Randy pull it out because they want to, but they also haven't decided who they want to be the heel, whether it's Shane or Daniel Bryan.
Yeah, and
Because Daniel Bryan's pairing up with Kevin and Sammy, who are clearly heels.
yeah, and I mean it was justified, like because at first, because I was confused as to like why like Daniel like fast counted, and because I turned my back for a second, so I had missed the previous count.
Right.
And then so they recapped the fact that Shane was like he refused to count for Kevin and Sammy. So they kind of justified it's just two guys just trying to do what they believe is right. So it's not like really like a necessarily heel thing. It's a little odd. What's confusing about that is that there's not going to be a payoff to a feud with Daniel Bryan again.
It's so weird, and I mean I'm gonna get into it when we do the Women's Rumble discussion too.
Yeah.
But there are oddly sometimes just like storyline things that are set up that it's like, well,
What's gonna happen? Yeah, like you say Daniel can't wrestle, so what do you? Okay.
yeah, what are you doing?
Oh, what are you doing? Come on!
Come on, you guys.
Okay. The main event we had AJ Styles, current champion, against Jinder Mahal with the Singh brothers, and
I went AJ.
I went AJ as well. God, Jinder Mahal, by the way.
So let's say this actually. AJ made Jinder look really good, better than and AJ is like this generation's Ric Flair. Throw him in a match, he will make people who are not that great look great. Yeah. And I'm not saying Jinder's terrible, but Jinder's still learning.
Yep.
But there have been stories and photos and rumors and all these other things about is Jinder Mahal on steroids, Jinder Mahal on steroids, this, that, and blah, blah, blah. And then photos were taken of this pay-per-view.
Yeah.
And some people were like, oh, those are clearly photoshopped. And then in the comments, it's on Facebook and everything, people are like, no, it's not. Showing like screen grabs of their TV. His back is covered in zits, or also known as back knee, which is a common sign of steroid use. However, it's also possibly not. Some people tried to in the comments to be like, if you're a hairy guy and you shave your back, sometimes it's ingrowing hairs and blah, blah, blah. Some people are like, well, that's not ingrowing hairs. But the major thing was the his nipples. His nipples really were
they were like elongated
and protruding, and that is one of the
clearer signs.
Yeah, one of the things that happens with steroid use is a fattening of the glands around the nipples, and that is something that's been pointed out in previous months about something that's happened to Jinder, and this was. It was crazy. So I mean, I don't want to pull up an image, but it's just you can find it. It's out there.
It's gross. You don't need to but
it's one of those things WWE is just not seemingly going to comment on.
Because they're like, we're going to be done with them soon anyway. That's probably.
2017, the Jinder experiment didn't work, and honestly, I don't think it's his fault. He got thrown in from like losing all of his matches to being a squash guy. To simultaneously, it would be similar to if literally next month or the month after one of the two from Breezango won the WWE belt.
Yeah.
You'd be like, cool.
Yeah, because he was like a joke 3-man band, like, you know, that guy.
Yeah, he was one of the squash guys. Yep. And now we're supposed to take him credible as this heel, and he was doing everything you're supposed to do in your heel work. The problem was the build didn't happen, and build is huge. Talking about Stone Cold, there was 2 years of build before he got the belt. Him facing Bret Hart was 6 months of building up of like, I want Bret Hart and all that kind of stuff. And that's why those matches work. It's about building those stories and building those characters, and just having Jinder take down Randy Orton out of the blue. And also you have him take down a guy who, like, frankly, we talked enough about Randy Orton on the show. He's not a wrestler people get excited about. It looks like, I guess he might take most of next year off, whether it's to heal up some injuries or to film things or whatever it's going to be. And generally, the comments on the internet were,
yeah.
Whereas Dean Ambrose is going to be out for, it's actually an undetermined amount of time, which is a kind of scary. Some people find that kind of scary. Dean Ambrose tore his tricep. I guess Monday morning or Sunday night. So then the storyline reason had to get rid of him on Raw. And he had tricep surgery. And the thing on the news was surgery successful, return date currently unknown. Which could mean like a numb arm situation or anything like that. And it's also kind of one of those things where I was talking to Naeem, who works here, about this. I was like, man, they have not been able to fully get the Shield thing off the ground.
Yeah.
Like, we waited years and years. Some people said to the point where it passed, the hotness of doing a Shield reunion passed, but then they did it, and then Roman got sick.
Yeah.
And then the belt went to Roman, and then Dean Ambrose went on his honeymoon, so then it was just Seth was doing these interviews where it was like, I don't know where Dean is, but next month, and but the Shield's alive, baby! And now Dean is gone for...
Burn it down.
Burn it down! And now Dean's gone for possibly up to 6 months. So it's like, man, you know, you can never tell with these kinds of things, but it's like, shit, man. You know, the Shield reunion trigger finally got pulled, and then it's like, oh, crap.
Yep.
Oh, brutal.
So that's a bummer. So I would think like 6 months, right? It seems like that's the appropriate amount.
I think it just depends on how severe the tear is. You've had people who, like, you know, you could tear like something in your leg, like Seth Rollins did, and you're out for like almost a year, and then you have a similar injury, but the tear's not as bad, and then you're back in 2 months. So I have not read anything about how severe the tricep tear was, but that's a hell of a fucking, like, if it was like an off the bone kind of thing.
Oh shit!
But I don't know.
Alrighty, so that was a whole card for that. So now we're building up to Rumble, which we don't have any of those matches announced yet, obviously, because we're...
the triple threat, we know that.
Triple threat. That's right.
That's the one we do have announced. Triple threat. It's going to be Lesnar, Kane, and Strowman. Not honestly, unless it's Strowman, which it will not be. I'm sure it's going to be Brock pins Kane, so you keep Strowman looking good.
Yeah. Keep in mind, this is January. For the Rumble. And we already know from last year that Vince's plan is to have Brock versus Roman. So,
but that's the interesting thing. Roman has not been wasn't on TV the last little bit, and and he's the Intercontinental Champ, which he could lose at the Rumble.
Yeah.
But I think if they do the thing where he loses at the Rumble and then wins a Rumble, wins the third Rumble, people will lose their fucking mind.
Yes. Just thinking about it, like.
And also, I don't know who he would feud with, because
ultimate dagger, like the ultimate, like just.
And I'm also just wondering who he would. I guess it'd be Joe. So I'm very happy with Joe winning the belt, 100%. But yeah, I think that's sort of the fear. Is something like that. So I don't know. I hope they don't do that. I also just don't know who. I mean, my root for the Rumble would be Finn Balor, and I guess it's worth saying too. That was a story. This is a perfect example of like what's going to happen with the Ziggler storyline, where a storyline gets dropped after 5 minutes. Finn had lost to Kane clean in 5 minutes. That was to make Kane look strong when he's going up against Strowman. But the idea apparently was that Finn would have had a rematch with Kane, easily defeated Kane, and then that would have set up Balor going to the Rumble to face Lesnar. But because they had booked Finn to lose so many times, Vince McMahon had gone cold on Finn Balor, so now he just lost clean to Kane in 5 minutes for no reason.
Oh dear, yeah, I really don't. Yeah, because there's no reason for Kane. I sincerely thought that Kane was about to be done because it's Glenn Jacobs who was trying to. He's running for something, right?
Running for mayor.
Mayor.
Yeah.
And I was thinking he was just going to do the favor and pass it on, whatever. And Braun was going to just run through all them and be like, "I'm the new monster now," but I have no idea what they're actually doing.
That's one of the Seattle shows, y'all. Don't worry about that. I was like, oh my God.
I was like, warning.
The rocket.
Well, I still have so I did Cameron's show the horror show, and I'm still I'm still just like, oh, what's gonna happen? The monster's gonna pop out. Someone just donated. No,
a demon. The demon Kane. Yeah, by the way, to the chat, how we had me and Janelle on a show. I guess maybe we had Infinite Kaori too. Someone would have had the Demon Kane show up. Or Corporate Kane. I would have made it work.
Corporate Kane.
I think that's the thing. Kane, I think in his mind, did do the favor. He just didn't do it for Finn. He did it for Vince. Because someone had to do something with... Because they had just had Brock beat Braun already. And so they couldn't have Braun and Brock again, I guess, because they want that, I think, at the Rumble... Or maybe Mania if it's not Roman.
Yeah.
So Kane just comes in to pass the monster baton to Braun.
Yep, there we go. That's it. What else? I'm trying to see if we have any other matches.
Seemingly,
we have so far just those three.
Well, Rumble, I think
Rumbles.
We're gonna see because they're building to it. We're gonna see Woken Matt Hardy and Bray.
Yes.
Which I'm loving right now.
Looks so silly. Yeah,
they're making Bray look silly. I love Matt Hardy. I love all of it.
Is like yes.
Oh my God! And the memes people have made. Someone put Matt Hardy in the audience laugh track of an episode of Big Bang Theory.
Oh my God! Really?
And it's one of my favorite things I've ever seen. I will have to find this to show Janelle later.
Oh my God!
It's amazing. But yeah, and so those are the things we know right now. Moving forward. And so I guess let's talk about the Women's Rumble match, which was announced on Raw. It was the closing segment of Raw. From what I've read also, no one but a select couple of the women on the roster were told that was going to be the announcement because they wanted that genuine reaction of surprise and stuff like that. It's a really actually good video if you watch it within the 3 minutes. So this is where I was going to talk about storyline stuff that kind of can always make me go but so it's you're making a storyline where you're building to Daniel Bryan, but Daniel Bryan's never going to have a match. This is, and I've talked about her before, and the only reason honestly, if they did this with anybody, I'd have a problem with it. It's not Stephanie McMahon. I like Stephanie McMahon, but this is another case where it's they play Stephanie so much of a heel on the show. She's mean to Kurt Angle, and everyone loves Kurt Angle, mean to Seth Rollins, Mick Foley, so on and so forth. But then she's the one that's going to go out and do the big hero announcement.
Yeah, that is the weirdest thing to me.
The Rumble. And it's it is one of those things where you're kind of
am I supposed to
think Stephanie's now a hero? Because she's already been tearing down everybody on the show and calling them stupid and acting all this other stuff. She's going to fire people, but now it's most of the and that's sort of the problem.
Get out of my ring.
Yeah, get out of my ring. But that's sort of the problem is trying to make her like a Vince McMahon type is then you also didn't have Vince going up against Stone Cold and all this other stuff, and then later that night making a I'm a hero rousing announcement that's supposed to be good for the roster and all this other stuff because it's character within the show. And so, and I know they've often talked about wrestling being a 3-ring circus that it's if you don't like the clowns, you'll like this, you'll like that, you'll like this, but they usually don't have the clowns play another character in the circus. And again, I have no issues with Stephanie McMahon the person. It's just more the character. They never seem to know what they want to do. Whether it's oh, she's such a villain because we're going to put her through a table at Mania, but then 2 pay-per-views later, she'll be making an announcement telling Sasha Banks how great she is, and Sasha's a face, but she's being genuine with Sasha, and you're what? It was sort of when she was full on heel, I'm gonna fire everybody, blah 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 blah, but then tears down Charlotte Flair in the back because of what Charlotte said to her dad, and was your father's a legend.
Yeah,
and it's why did Stephanie get that role?
Why did she do that? It could have been anybody else, and it would have made more sense.
Yeah, and so for storyline, I'll say this: if Stephanie had not been on the air the last couple months, where she has been tearing down Kurt Angle, telling Kurt Angle to be fired, tearing down Jason Jordan, tearing down this person, lifting up Triple H, If she had not done all that, and this is the first time we'd seen her since Mania, that would have worked.
Because that's oftentimes like we don't know what Triple H we're gonna get until we see him.
And no idea.
He shows up, and then it's clear what his role is.
Yeah.
Usually, he comes in and he's like, "I'm the NXT guy. Hey, I'm a hero." Blah blah blah. Or he'll come in and he'll be like, punching Roman in the face or whatever.
Yeah.
And we know what's going on. But with Stephanie, I have no clue.
It's just one of those things where it's like, I mean, I get it. It's like, and Triple H has did this interview. He's like, well, kayfabe's dead, everyone knows. And you're kind of like, yes, but you're still telling a story, and I got to be able to kind of go with that story. So unless Stephanie's going to play some role in the Women's Rumble where she's like, I'm the 30th entry, then I'd be like, oh, okay. Now I know why you made that announcement.
That's great, yeah.
But otherwise, it's like, I feel like that could have been Lita.
Yeah.
It could have
been Lita. That would have.
But I don't know if that would have been like, oh, people will know then.
But she likes to be the person, PR wise. She likes to be the one that like, oh, I'm making the announcement.
And there's a video from What Culture. You might not agree. You might agree. You disagree. It's probably worth watching. It put it out like 2-3 weeks ago, called like Why Stephanie McMahon's Not Great for WWE. And not necessarily talking about her character. It's talking about. And they basically talked about like when she kind of really took over creative, that no wrestlers were allowed to be built up, and her character is often tearing people down, and then she'll go publicly do interviews and be like, I don't know, no one can get over.
Yeah,
and it's kind of like, well, your character's tearing everyone down.
You do.
So whether you disagree or agree, I think it's an interesting discussion piece. But for the most part, like I really like Stephanie McMahon as a character. I do like when she's full villain. So that's why maybe it's also that where it's like I like it when she's full villain. So when she's in the ring being like.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you used to rip apart Daniel Bryan, and you make fun of the fans for doing this. Who are you? Yes. But it's one of those things. But otherwise, outside of all that, the Women's Rumble, I'm very excited about it.
Yeah. Do you know the amount of entrants we're gonna get?
Well, I think it makes sense to why we got those 6 call-ups. It's also not clear whether that's open to NXT as well.
I believe they would still throw some people in there.
I think they will. I think Ember's going to be in there. I think it'll be similar to when Ty Dillinger appeared in the Rumble 2 years ago, and he appeared. He was in there 2 years ago, and then didn't seem to get bumped up to the main roster, and then got bumped up later on. So I think when we'll see some of that, that's a kind of a Rumble thing. You will occasionally see that, just so Michael Cole and those guys can go, oh my God, imagine if someone from NXT won.
Yeah,
could you see them at the Mania? It might have been. But they will do that. You'll see someone from NXT pop up in the Rumble. So I'm sure I think Ember Moon's a given.
Yeah. People will be disappointed, I think, if she's not in there. I don't think that she's going to get called up yet, but I think it'll be that case where she's in there and then comes up later on.
Now the question to me, are they going to have the same amount of time as the Guys Rumble? When if you count like 30 competitors every 2 minutes, just getting everyone in there is an hour.
Right.
There's usually also about 20 minutes because by the end of the countdown, when we got into 30, there's still like 8 or 10 people in the ring who are like doing the bad lifting. Like not
yeah,
getting...
and the thing is, because this is not something normal, having we don't usually have battle royales with a bunch of women in the ring at any moment. So I'm a little and we have seen that it can get very agent heavy. With very mechanical and slow or too fast sometimes because they're just the pacing is very odd when there's a lot of women in the ring because it isn't something that we see normally. So I'm a little concerned with a bunch of bodies and just the weird lifting and the weird like am I gonna get you? I'm not in the spotlight, but I'm trying to push you out of the ring.
And it's also who's going to get the comedic spot. There's always that spot. There's always the spot of the person who comes in for... It's Lana. Why am I even talking? It's Lana. She's going to come in and be eliminated in 2 seconds.
Yeah, because that's even the gimmick on Total Divas is that she's not,
Yeah, there's always that wrestler who gets eliminated.
Get a celebrity entrant?
I think it's Rousey. I think it's going to be Rousey.
Yeah, but that's a real one. That's like someone that's actually going to be wrestling.
Maybe
I'm thinking like Drew Carey, like in back at like I want like.
Well, it's interesting because they have had matches.
I want like Chelsea Handler. Like
I think you'll see maybe you see Maria Menounos, who's done some matches. Yeah, she might be a surprise entrance.
That would be cool.
I would love it. Won't happen. I'd love if Gail Kim was a surprise entrance.
Yeah.
Or one of the legends. They love doing that at Royal Rumble, where it's like, here's a legend who we're not going to add to the roster full time.
We already have. We have Mickey, so
Mickey's in there. Yeah.
But yeah. So I wonder if they'll consider that spot filled already. But I think maybe another legend.
Yeah, it could be Trish, because Lita seems like she's pretty much done outside of being a commentator.
Yeah.
I think you're also going to see probably a lot of women from the Mae Young Classic who we haven't seen on TV yet.
I could see Lita coming back for that though.
Yeah, I
for one
could too.
spot.
There was some news this week, but we're going to save it till Kaori's back. But speaking of women, AJ's book is going to become a TV show.
That's right.
Great for her. Well, that was Kaori's big story, so we'll wait because I'd love to be able to have her on here to talk about that in a big bad way.
Yes.
What
else? There was a Ring of Honor a pay-per-view final battle, which was a big deal. It's
because it had blonde Cody.
Yeah, blonde Cody.
Blonde devil-looking Cody.
Yeah, so I'm just gonna go through the card very quickly. So we had the dogs, Rhett Titus and Will Ferrara beat Cheeseburger and Delirious. That was an early match. Jonathan Gresham versus Josh Woods. I didn't get a chance to watch all these. Only I saw the main event. Matt Taven that beat Will Ospreay. That was a good match. War Machine defeated The Addiction. And Jay Lethal defeated Marty Squirrel. I like Face Lethal. Motor Machine Guns beat Beretta and Chucky T. That's best friends. And then we have Silas Young versus Kenny King and Punishment Martinez. He won. Silas Young. Briscoes against Bully Ray and Tommy Dreamer. Briscoes won. The Hung Bucks, which was Adam Page, Matt Jackson, and Nick Jackson, beat Dragon Lee, Flip Gordon, and Titan. And this is the main event here. Dalton Castle with the boys defeated Cody Rhodes with Brandy. And this was for the Ring of Honor Championship. So very, very cool. So this was something that I was looking forward to before because they were building up, this whole Dalton Castle. Then he got injured. Dalton Castle versus the
right, yeah,
everything. So I just wanted to go through that just to make mention in the.
Yeah, I gotta watch more Ring of Honor for sure. Yep. That's something. It's just
we are also building up to Wrestle Kingdom, so we're on our way, and I'm very, very excited about that. There was some advancement with Chris Jericho came into the ring and attacked Kenny Omega.
He did, and then there was a press conference where Chris Jericho dropped an F-bomb, and the internet went crazy.
So Kaori is going to be there, so she will be posting stuff on the Reddit too, and she's going to take some little clippies. I want her to just not to worry about social media and just go and enjoy everything. But that's a huge thing. But it can be very easy as someone who is fairly active on social media to be at a wrestling live event and be like, I'm going to take a bunch of photos, and you're not really in the event. You're trying to get the best shot. But it's also, and for us, it'll be 2 a.m. over here. Yeah, that's when Andy and I are always like, I'm so tired, but I want it. It's so good. It's so good.
Yeah, I got invited to a wrestling party. Mutual friends of ours, Joey Clifton and Nick Gligger, are throwing a little shindig, I believe. So I'm probably going to head to their place if I'm not in bed by midnight.
Yeah.
Because I have that old man thing where it's like either I'm awake till 5 a.m. or I pass out at 10 p.m. and wake up at 7 and I'm like, a full day.
It starts at 2. That's the thing. It's like, because I'll be ready. I'm like ready. I'm like watching. I'm like, yeah. Can't wait for the main event. And the main event comes. I'm just like, I cannot see.
My body. But we're definitely going to bring up some New Japan. I will at least for in our top 5.
For sure. Okay, so is that what we want to do now? You want to talk about your top 5 now?
Well, I think top 5 should end. So we haven't talked about in a couple of weeks. Total Divas. Lana and Natalia, they hate each other. Until they love each other by the end. But pretty good episode. I like all the stuff with Brie having the baby and being like, oh, can I still do this? We've talked about before, the cutest baby.
The cutest. It looks like she looks like Daniel Bryan.
It's 100% Daniel Bryan's baby. There can be no doubt. But yeah, and again, like, it's a silly show, but it's a show I enjoy. I will say I'm actually surprised how much we have not seen too much of like the male counterparts. We still see a lot of Daniel Bryan, of course. Rusev figured pretty heavily into one episode.
Right.
And The Miz is anytime Maurice is there, The Miz is there. This show just makes me like The Miz a lot more. I really like The Miz.
He's very good on the show. Very
someone, was it Rolling Stone, I think, named Miz. Rolling Stone, I think, named Miz Wrestler of the Year, which is good for him. I really like The Miz.
Miz, man, he's like last 2 years
have been, he's been so good.
He's in my, I honestly, dang, I mean, I have my choice for Wrestler of the Year. I have a couple of choices. But he's up there. He's definitely up there for me.
Yeah. When people have written great articles about how this is the guy who 20 years ago would be the heel champion. He would be that heel champion you boo. And for whatever reason, they just will not give him the belt. And they really should give him another chance at the big belt.
belt.
Yeah.
But he had to go do his movie.
Oh, 100%. But I'm saying he should
Yeah.
have the big belt.
The
I
big
think
belt,
he
yeah,
should
the big
be. They should give him that like 8-month run with the champion, and he keeps weaseling his way out and winning because he's
he could
even if his finger
chicken
4 looks
wheel.
bad, everything else the Miz is he's just great wrestling tactics.
Great on the mic, yeah. Great everywhere.
Yeah, super fun to watch. So, but outside of that, yeah, like Big Cass is only in part of an episode.
Yeah,
Not-
I wonder because I feel like last season we saw a lot more of the guys like Dean.
Well,
Ambrose
not
and
much
Will
John
Hobbs,
Cena
yeah.
on this. Actually, I think he was only in one
Are we getting
episode
another Total
briefly.
Bellas?
I think so.
Maybe that's where they're saving all the Cena.
But Brian is still very
yeah,
involved
he
in the
is,
show.
he's super there. Yeah, I don't know.
But that also might just be because Bree's not on the road because she had the baby, so she's home, so they have to have.
Plus they're talking about him coming in for like the commissioner position. And all
Yes.
That, so yeah.
But yeah, it's a show that I know I made fun of, and it's like, oh, how can I wrestle? It's really addictive.
It's just like wrestling. Like it's if you just watch it like that, like people like it's we all know what reality TV is now. But
there's stuff that feels very genuine, and there's stuff that
enjoy-
feels very scripted.
I enjoy the characters that they play, the roles that they play. Like I enjoy Miz coming in as the husband's like, don't go shopping too much. Like,
Yeah. I like Alexa Bliss buying her little pig
yeah.
last week's episode. And then on social media, I think like 2 days ago, she put up a photo going like, "Diss me now," with this pig that's a lot bigger lying on her couch. So that mini pig became a pig. But good for her. She kept it. So yeah, it's been a good season of Total Divas so far.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But yeah, let's jump into our top 5. So we can go.
I'm gonna go through. So I don't have a step 5 because I just want to.
I don't either. I'm kind of going top of the head a little bit.
I'm gonna read through Kaori's list because she sent it to me. She couldn't be here, so So first one is Shibata's return to New Japan. Walking into the locker room, he said himself it was a huge accomplishment. Very emotional moment to see him come back. Not to wrestle, of course, sadly. For anyone who doesn't know, Shibata was in a match with Okada, and he headbutt Okada very, very hard, and had a contusion on his brain, and can't wrestle anymore. But his return was an actual big emotional moment. Yeah, and he is okay.
Yeah, that headbutt move is always like I've never felt comfortable watching it. It's never headbutt's one of those things where it's like. Unless it's so fakey looking, where you're like, okay, but we
were even scared about Vince's, like the Kevin Owens.
Yeah, that was like, ooh, and you also had obviously the one that to me was always Brian right before he left when it was Brian and it was either Dolph or Sheamus, but they had some kind of headbutt thing, and I was watching that going like, oh god, like. There's like that degree of like, oh, you want wrestling to kind of feel real, but that's too real because we know too much. I don't want
to be actually worried about you.
Yeah, I mean, if Triple H is going to do interviews where kayfabe is dead, we know too much about head injuries at this point that I don't need to see two grown men smash their skulls against each other.
Yep, I agree. I don't need to see that ever.
But that is a great moment.
So, that was a great moment. This was her personal moment. Personally, was when she met, and she talked about this in the show when she met AJ Lee for her book signing.
Oh yeah,
and I mentioned that they were twins, so it was very, very cute. So Strowman won her over with attacking Triple H. That was just recently. It was great. She wasn't a fan after he did that. She had the 180, which I agree. I honestly think that was a really cool moment.
That was a great moment. Yeah.
And then Okada versus Omega at Wrestle Kingdom 11. Obviously, we all love that, and that's one of my personal ones too. She
same.
got to see it live, so that is an actual big deal. And then she also loved all the women's first.
Well, it's worse. Is it Okada Omega 2, right? Because 1 is last year.
One was 1 last year?
Because I think 2 was February.
I think. Hold on.
Maybe I'm wrong.
I have the
exact if I'm wrong,
here.
believe me. Like there's certain things where it's like I'm kind of going off the top of the head, but I needed to look up to make sure.
We have they were June 11th and August 12th, so they were this year. Yeah, they were this year.
Well, that's 2 and 3.
We're 2 and 3. Wrestle Kingdom, but it would have been January. So
yeah. So yeah.
So that's why.
Top of the year.
So there we go.
That's always the hard things about making any kind of top 5 list of the year. Even movies, you're like,
especially
when did that come out?
January, because honestly, Okada, he was solidified his position as like wrestler of the year by April.
Pro wrestling, they gave him wrestler of the year, deservedly so. That made big news because there hadn't been a non-American or not. Sorry, no, there's been Canadians, but like there hasn't been a Asian wrestler who's been given that honor now until Okada, and it's deserved.
Yeah, absolutely, because he's my personal choice for wrestler of the year, but. In no particular order, but I mean Okada, of course, number 1. But the other ones that I would say for myself are Omega. So it's Omega, Okada, and Jericho, maybe.
Jericho had a hell of a run,
Miz,
and it's not over. Obviously, we got
and the Miz is another one personally for me. And last year I think I picked Naito. He's had some good stuff, but not as influential as the other
I'd agree
this year. The other two, but yeah, Omega Okada just killed it this year. But yeah, and that was her last thing was she loved how this year was the year of the women's first Money in the Bank and women eventing, and now we have
and Hell in a Cell wasn't this year as well,
right? Yeah. Oh no, it was last year. We had Charlotte last year because this year we didn't have Charlotte in the cell, but she was in there last year.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah, I believe so. Oh no, did she do both? I don't remember.
I'm gonna look. I think you're right, but I'm gonna look.
Yeah, look it up. But because she's done two then. I believe. Then if she hasn't done Hell in the Cell, but so if I'm looking at those are just moments that she picked, and then
you're right. It was 2016.
Okay.
Yep. So yeah.
So some of the other matches that I just want to go through real quick. For these are Dave Meltzer's highest rated for the year. So the 6.25 was for that was a 6.25 rating for Okada Omega at Dominion, and then the 6, of course, the infamous 6. Was at Wrestle Kingdom, and he also gave the G1 Climax their 3 matches were all 6, 6, and 6.25. So consistently outdoing themselves. And then the next one, 5.75 stars. That was for Naito and Omega. So again, we're going back to just Omega just
killing it
this year. And that was from that was also from the G1 Climax. This was Omega's year.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
The other match that I was thinking of that I really liked was we talked about it, Shibata and Okada. That was another one that I really liked. But let's see what else we have here. Some PWG stuff, which was I haven't gone back to see this one, but this is Walter versus Zack Sabre Jr., which received a 5-star.
Ooh, okay, I gotta check that one out too.
And this one I actually really agree. This is Best of the Super Juniors. Day 14, we had Kushida versus Ospreay. Will Ospreay, and that was a 5-star match as well. So those are all matches to go back. So if anybody wants to go back and see this list, it's on Pro Fight DB, and it's for Dave Meltzer's, and he's got quite a few. We had a great wrestling year, to be honest.
It was a really good year.
And, matches that even surpassed that. So that was great. And that's, personally, so I want to go through what you want to talk about, because I'm going to piggyback on that, because you and I share a lot of the similar highlights of the year.
So this is no particular order, except maybe my number one. But otherwise, Festival of Friendship.
Yes.
I love the Festival of Friendship. Everything, and that was a culmination of everything that those guys did in 2016.
Yes.
But ending with the Festival of Friendship was so good. And then them.
I did want to talk about. Okay, so. So for anyone who hasn't seen the Kevin Owens documentary that is on, it's Kevin Owens 365. Yeah. I haven't seen any of the other ones yet, but I did see the Kevin Owens one. And there's a moment in there where he walks backstage after his match with his match at WrestleMania. This is the one where he broke the ropes by putting his finger on the ropes. Remember?
Oh yes.
So he went back there and he was a little upset, with himself, because he felt like he didn't do well. And he asks Vince, he's like, "Are we good?" And Vince sitting gorilla. And he's like, "No, we're not good. It wasn't good." And he was really, really hurt by that, because he didn't feel good about the match, and it was supposed to be the culmination of the feud.
Yeah.
And I was a little disappointed with that match as well, because I wanted them to have
more time. I think a lot of people were hoping. I think a lot of people thought that was going into that. I think a lot of people thought that was going to be the one that stole the show.
Right. Yeah.
I think a lot of people thought this is going to be the match.
It seemed like they got rushed almost, and
they might have. It was a long ass pay-per-view, as Manias now are. But it also did feel like that those two guys worked so hard, and the spotlight was more on Goldberg, Lesnar.
Yeah. And it might have even been Vince didn't like it and was like, cut it short. So they had to just speed through a lot of the moments that they wanted to do, and that might have been why Kevin was upset, because he's like, I didn't do well beginning, and so he didn't let me finish, and so I'm pissed off and whatever. But in the documentary, he talks about, because after that he had his U.S. run in his Face of America.
Yes.
So he came through that, but yes. So but the Festival of Friendship, that to me was the peak of that storytelling.
Yeah, so good. Festival of Friendship is so good. That's one of mine. I would also say, to me, and this is probably, if I had to rate number 2, I would say this whole year, going back even a little further than that, everything Cody Rhodes has done, even if the matches weren't the best in the world, I think Cody Rhodes should be, as a what he's done, inspiring to people who are in the arts or involved in the arts in any way, whether it's wrestling or not. Because there's so many people who we have seen will like leave the WWE and be like, I'm done. I'm going to go do this other thing, blah, blah, blah. Whether it be acting or the other little promotions here and there. And you kind of feel like you never hear about them anymore. And Cody should kind of be an inspiration to anybody that's like, if you're passionate about the thing you're passionate about, and again, whether that be wrestling, art, film, whatever it is, you don't need the backing of the big house to be able to make a name for yourself, make a living, and be proud of what you're doing. I think everything Cody Rhodes has done this year, as far as that goes, and really selling, has been great.
Yep.
Really, really fun, good stuff that I really enjoyed. I would also say, and this will probably not make a lot of people's lists, but I mean, it gave us a lot to talk about on the show. Even if the match was a real limp noodle, and it was a real limp noodle match, all the promo stuff between Reigns and Cena.
Yes, I agree. Okay.
I thought that was really good stuff.
Yeah, because I think he kind of gave him a hard lesson just by putting him on the spot like that, and he stepped it up, and I thought it was great.
Yeah, I thought it was really great. I thought I loved all the build to that. Again, the match was kind of a wet noodle, but sometimes the best stuff is just how you work on the mic. You can be totally forgiven with having a limp match if the mic work and the stuff you guys do between there is great, and I thought that was great. Another favorite, this would kind of go into my favorite match category. I really loved the destructive four-way that was the SummerSlam.
Yes, that was
main event.
That was up there as one of Meltzer's top rated of the year as well. The Samoa Joe and all that. Yeah, that was really good. And the build up to that, that was Samoa. I probably watched this moment more than any other moment rewatching wrestling this year. Was Samoa Joe shouting at both Brock Lesnar and then Roman Reigns. That moment when like Brock Lesnar's not paying attention to Samoa Joe, and he goes, "What he say? He basically goes like, you look at me when I'm talking to you, boy, or I'm gonna make you look at me." Like, Samoa Joe is so good. Everything that was Samoa Joe and Brock was great. That whole build-up, them fighting backstage, leading into all the promos, which then led into that SummerSlam match. Even if for the most part SummerSlam was maybe a little forgettable, not bad, but a little forgettable. That was great. That was fantastic stuff. Number one has to be I think Omega Ospreay 2 was so good. I mean, 1 is great. 1 is so great. But by the time I got to 1, I already heard so much about 1. Yeah.
2 had a question mark over it because 2 was like,
how are they gonna?
How will they do it again? This, that, and the other. And just watching that match is so like, oh man, like it's so good.
Either of them just kept up, like Okada and Omega, just like all year, just like top, like just full speed ahead. They were just like they were doing awesome all year. I don't know how they did it. I really don't know how they did it. Neither does Dave Meltzer, which is why they got the scores that they got.
I know, it's crazy. And I do want to give a shout out to the Mae Young Classic.
Okay, yeah, that was good. That was because we saw a lot of stars, and they still haven't.
We saw a lot of stars. And I think honestly, the Mae Young Classic had a lot of the best for WWE. A lot of the great women's match moments of this year. We've talked about it on the show a lot. I think there's a lot of good little highlights here and there. I mean, Asuka, of course, in NXT before getting injured and moving up, even though what she's doing now is a lot of fun. But I think we've talked about, like, I feel like a lot of 2017 was a lot of schmozzy matches with the women of just throw 5 of them into the ring every Raw and SmackDown and see what happens. And I don't know if there's any, I mean, this was supposed to kind of, feels like this was kind of supposed to be Bayley's year. And didn't really, they kind of did book her right.
Bayley this year.
I mean, to me, the standout on the main roster for the women was Alexa Bliss.
Yes.
Alexa Bliss, almost everything they gave to her, except This Is Your Life with Bayley, which was so bad and probably could be in the top 5 worst moments. But Alexa didn't write that. She did what she could with it.
Yeah.
But everything else they've given to Alexa Bliss, she's so good on the mic, in the ring. She's great. I love Charlotte. Charlotte's a natural athlete, but I think I like heel Charlotte a little more than nice, friendly Charlotte, which we've had the last couple months. But so to me, on the main roster, this has been the year of Alexa Bliss. She's amazing, and they just need to give her more and more to do. But as far as like women's stuff in the whole year, for WWE, I got Mae Young Classic.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, that was a good mention. But yeah. Oh, I just realized that we didn't say who won the belt.
Oh.
And I know why. Because
Well, let's
okay.
Oh, yeah.
No, you didn't win.
Damn it.
I was gonna say because I told Cameron before that he got a 6, and then Kaori also got a 6, but your girl got a 10.
Damn
it!
Damn it! How many matches were there?
What was it? I don't remember how many. I think that was. Wait, how many matches were? Let's see. This might be the total. No, this is Andy too. Andy got 11. How many? I wonder if he did points. I wonder if he might have done 2 points or something each. Pete. I'm confused actually, but I'll take a look at it. But I'm pretty sure.
You got the belt. You won the belt.
I'm champion. I just realizing he might have done a collective score though. For this might be a different one, but we'll go through because I'm pretty sure that I won. I'm pretty sure.
I'll give it to you. I'll give it to you.
All right.
No.
There were 15 matches.
Yeah.
We're like, wait a minute.
I'm like, I don't think we talked about that many matches. I don't know if we talked about 10 matches.
Yeah.
But so yeah, those are mine. And so you agreed with some of those. Do you have any that we didn't get into?
No, everything that everything that you said, those in combination with what Kaori also said, we all same things. Yeah. I mean, I'm happy. Like I'm grateful for the year that Kevin Owens has had in the spotlight.
Yes.
Most importantly, that's one of the things I do want to talk about it. Besides the Miz also being great on the mic.
Yeah.
Miz is
I think the only reason Miz didn't make any of my top 5 is as great as he is and as great as the Miz Taraj was, there wasn't. It feels like maybe the biggest storyline, and I could be wrong. I got to go back and look, but it feels like the biggest storyline was. We talked about it. That Dean Ambrose feud went on forever.
Yeah, it did.
Forever. And then his Roman feud turned into a Shield feud, which brought back Dean Ambrose.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think, except for Jason Jordan and a little bit with Kurt, which was like 1 month.
It was the total Divas feud.
Yeah.
Like,
I'm like, I don't know. Did Miz feud with anybody else that wasn't a member of the Shield?
Yeah. Damn.
And I love the Miz, but sometimes, what makes a standout moment, CM Punk is great as CM Punk. You know what also made CM Punk huge that year? John Cena.
Yeah, that's true.
If it was CM Punk on the mic and doing all that other stuff, and he was up against the Great Khali.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying Dean Ambrose is a Great Khali. But my point is like, totally. That was a feud that was continuing on from last year from SmackDown.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, I think he did well, like just on the mic, all around, all year, challenging John Cena.
Yes.
A lot of those shoot style promos that I liked.
Were so good.
But yeah, Kevin Owens, obviously, like everyone knows, I'm a huge fan of his. And I'm also grateful for the fact that he's getting to do this program with Sammy. Because
this was a rough year for Sammy too until they paired him up. Yeah.
Their story is so valuable to them. So for them to have this chapter in the WWE. And for them to have the room to do it is really nice.
Yeah, if you haven't seen on top of the other Kevin Owens documentary, if you watch the DVD that just came out like a couple months ago, the second most talking head on that DVD is Sami Zayn. Yeah. It's a really good documentary.
Also, there's a Ring of Honor documentary called Descent into Madness, and it tells their whole story of like when they were tag team with El Generico and the turning of that, and just those moments. And I honestly cry when I watch it because it's just like the art of wrestling is just so beautiful, and it's like one of my favorite stories is the Kevin and Sammy story, just that they've been telling and they're still telling it, and I'm grateful that there's this chapter in the WWE. So that's I just wanted to mention that.
Yeah, I want to try and get a Yep shirt at some point for sure.
Yeah, Yep. Double yep.
And outside the world of wrestling, to some extent, I'm glad Ric Flair pulled through, and we still have Ric Flair. His 30 for 30 documentary, check it out. And I still have to read. I have it. I still got to read the book him and Charlotte wrote.
Yes,
but I do have the book.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
But yeah, so overall, I think it was a fun year for wrestling. There were certainly some things I think Finn could have been better utilized.
Yeah.
Came back after Mania. Came back the day after Mania. It was a big thing, and I kind of feel like they never really grabbed a thing for him to do. He was in like a 5-month feud with Bray, which just kind of went on. I mean, his match with AJ was great.
Yeah.
And that's what we're saying. AJ had another great year. 2 years running. AJ is killing it. AJ keeps killing it.
That was my other one. That was I knew I missed somebody. That was my other top 5 of the year. Was AJ Styles.
So good. Because we started the year with heel AJ with Rumble at Cena 3. Shane. He's back to being a face. I love and AJ is a wrestler who honestly doing either heel or face I think is really good. He's so good in the ring. He makes everybody look good.
He makes everybody look good. Andy was saying that he thought of the match of him and Jinder. This last one is just like a cartoon of Jinder just standing there and just AJ doing kind of flips around him, just
oh, it's so good.
In a headlock and just like he's like the Shawn Michaels where he can have a match with the ladder and make the ladder look good.
Yeah, this is why we got to get Matt. Because before we started the show, we had some bad news from Matt, or Zach did, and told Matt that anime's not real life, and Matt took it pretty hard.
Yeah.
I think if Matt watched wrestling,
yeah, there you go. That would make him feel better.
just watch jumping around AJ Styles, facing a big old. It's basically the same thing.
Yep.
So guys, thank you so much for watching. Let us know your top moments of the year. Sorry for a little bit of time off, and we're gonna have a little bit of time off, but we wanted to get this to you. Ask Iffy on Twitter.
Discord.
Oh yeah, we'll see you in Discord. Go jump in that Discord. We'll hopefully come back just in time for the Rumble to make some of those Rumble predictions. We'll have a little bit of an announcement on there as well. And yeah, Kaori will be back. Iffy will be back. So if you want to know Iffy's top 5, go hit him up. Ask him what his favorite match of the year was.
Yeah.
And I think those are the major things. Have a good holiday season. Let us know your favorite moments. Let us know your least favorite moments.
Yeah.
Who's your wrestler of the year? And obviously we didn't mention too much Lucha Underground. That's on. Yeah.
Worst of the year. Think about it real quick though. Who's the worst? Who is least effective?
And you know what? It's not his fault. It is not his fault. It's the booking. It's the booking. Anytime Bray Wyatt is on screen, I get tired.
I was gonna say the same thing.
And it's not his fault. But they did not utilize him properly. They just put him in feuds that last so long. That's why I think the Woken stuff is. I'm appreciating it.
We have that to look forward to. That's going to be a positive thing. So
yes,
2018, we're going to get some good Bray actually, because that program is going to be good.
I think so too.
I meant
yeah. General sound effects. But so yeah, what about you? What is yours? You're also Bray.
It's also Brayham. Yeah. It was Bray, just least effective.
And I think the problem is because he's got that spooky gimmick. Like whereas they also have like not booked Finn very well. Finn
is also up there with me.
But he's got the demon gimmick, but for the most part, his thing is not I'm a spooky guy, it's I'm a good wrestler.
Yeah, that's true.
So that's where it's like, oh, that's more disappointing. But like Finn, but Bray, because he's got those speeches, it just after a while, you're like, oh, like the Seth Rollins feud he had went on forever too. And you're just like, oh, like this was not a good year for Bray. Despite the fact that I slightly enjoy House of Horrors in a so bad it's good manner, and that was February.
I thought it was a cool gimmick.
I thought that was so silly and so like but I enjoyed it, and I know that's going to make a lot of people's top worst. So let me separate House of Horrors from the rest of what Bray had to go through this year.
Yeah.
But yeah, and so guys, you can find me at twitter.com/Jurassic Alien. Hit me up over there. Let me know what you're watching. If you're watching wrestling, movies, comic books, any of that, I'll talk to you about it.
Yeah, and I'm at Janelle Santa Cruz. Same thing. Hit me up about anything, especially over watching wrestling, my doggies.
Oh yeah, and jump in the Discord during Wrestle Kingdom 12. We'll be in there. 2 a.m.
I'm in there. Andy's in there. We're doing it, dog.
All right, y'all have a happy new year and go watch wrestling. Woo! Hey, everybody, and welcome to Ready to Ramble!
Here.
Just because they won the predictions challenge.
Oh yeah, that's how it works, baby.
Yeah, you gotta keep
That's
it
right.
long and strong.
Long and strong.
That's how it is.
We got all four people here today. The four
Cali babes.
The four Cali babies. The 4 horse people.
Very excited. Very much looking forward to today. These two are going to eat some peppers, and then one of us is going to eat some peppers after a challenge to find out who truly won Survivor Series, who is the holder of the belt. So that'll be really exciting. We're also going to talk about Starrcade, Raw, and SmackDown. And actually, Janelle, you just let us know about Juice Robinson and Kenny Omega.
Yeah, I didn't get a chance to see it, but Juice Robinson, who was formerly known as CJ, what was it? CJ Parker? CJ Parker at NXT.
His whole thing was he was a hippie.
Yeah, he was a hippie. But he's doing really well in New Japan and just faced off against Kenny Omega. And I guess Kenny went over, but yeah, for the title. So he actually defended his title against
Pretty good match.
Yeah.
do. Mhm.
So we'll have to check that out if you have the New Japan app,
Yeah.
which some of us do.
Mm.
But we got to talk about Starrcade as well. Starrcade did not air on the network. We talked about it a couple months ago, and it was announced that it was going to happen. Was it going to air on the network? Was it not? It was pointed out that some of the card had changed since the initial announcement, such as
we didn't get our grudge match between Kevin and Sammy.
did not get the grudge match because now they're best friends. I don't know if Jinder actually fought. Did Jinder fight AJ?
At Starrcade, yeah,
He did?
yeah.
Okay,
He
because
did.
originally I was supposed to be Jinder and somebody. I think it was supposed to be somebody else when that card was initially announced. But the one match we did get that was from the initial launch was Dolph Ziggler, Bobby Roode. They went head to head. They went at it. But there was also some good nostalgia that popped in here from Double A Arn Anderson.
Yeah.
So that's one angle. That's the angle Ziggler's been sharing. And this is the official WWE angle.
Official.
And you were mentioning how you think Ziggler's looking pretty svelte.
Yeah. Look, he's looking nice and lean.
Gotta talk to his brother Ryan. Be like, what's his workout plan?
Yeah.
What's he doing?
This was in North Carolina, or where was it?
Yeah, Greensboro.
That's right.
Yep. Which is where I think when the original Starrcade took place.
Right.
Now, credit due, because this could have been all they did. It could have just been Arn Anderson takes a hit, which I think every time Arn Anderson's ever done anything in WWE after WCW closed, that was pretty much all Arn Anderson did, was like come out to be like, don't do this, and then get hit. And you got to watch Charles Robinson during this whole thing. Little Nate.
No. Looked pretty good. Looked pretty good.
Yeah, it looked really good.
Flip it over the card.
Yeah, I'll give it up to Arn Anderson. That looked really good. Ziggler sold it. He's doing his big fish flop, which I love. Ziggler's one of the best sales guys. I think he's still in the business.
I don't have a problem with that. Some people have a problem with him flopping around like a fish, but I mean, it's
He's just
I don't know.
exaggerating.
Yeah, I like
Yeah.
It's
It works for me.
WWE's exaggerating.
yeah.
Yeah, it's no different than when they do the test of strength
Yeah.
with Hulk Hogan. He's always like,
yeah.
to his knees whenever it was him in Warrior. Ric Flair also made an appearance, of course, with and Ricky Steamboat. Ricky Steamboat came out. I was looking for this. I couldn't find it. But Ricky Steamboat also came out during a Shinsuke match. And I think basically was passed the torch, as it were, to Shinsuke Nakamura. And said, "You're the new dragon," kind of a thing, which I don't know if that's racist or not. Take that as you will, because I doubt Ricky Steamboat wrote that. Some white guy in the back did and said, "You could say you're the new dragon."
Yeah.
You're the new dragon now.
Yeah, you're the dragon now, dog.
That's something that I've noticed. They have a hard time like not making them super ethnic.
But I love Ricky Steamboat. I love Shinsuke. So visually, a great moment, even if it's a little strange. And then Goldust himself, Dustin Rhodes came out. And was in a match. Was victorious, and then did a speech to his dad.
Oh.
Yes, I want to see this.
All the years, you've stood behind me, beside me, you've loved me, you've hated me, we've done some wonderful things together. But there's nothing right now that is more special than standing right here. We're dead. Thank you all for loving and honoring the Rhodes family.
Yeah.
Now we're going to story to continue, so let's have some fun.
Yeah, and originally wasn't even booked on the show, and that's why Cody was mad and was like, come on.
Yeah, he was not booked. Yeah, exactly. He was not booked. Cody was very vocal about it. And then Cody Rhodes himself was, they had teased like, would he come, this, that, and the other, and blah, blah, blah. Was obviously not able to because he was doing, on top of the fact Vince McMahon had even said yes to it. He was in the other part of the country doing Ring of Honor stuff.
Yep.
But so, by all accounts, Starrcade, if you were there live, it was a great event. There was some talk about why it wasn't on the network and should it have been. It looks like it might have been. There's conspiracy theories that it wasn't because Vince McMahon hates everything WCW, so it therefore never.
Yeah, I wonder if they. I mean, they probably got a lot of good footage for future specials, which which I would assume would air later, just because they've done. By the way, did you guys watch the Kevin Owens, the 365? So
No,
okay.
no, I did not. No,
Yeah,
I did not get
365.
to.
So, but I'm just thinking because they may even be doing, 365 for any of these superstars, in which they would mention Starrcade. So, I think that
Yeah,
they
and
probably just use it for a special later on.
I hope that's the case. I mean, because it was actually What Culture mentioned a pretty good thing about like if ECW's One Night Stand, which was like this massive thing that was so big that it brought ECW back. If that had just been a house show that people talked about,
Right.
you never would have gotten ECW back.
Right.
So there's almost a degree of like, could this have been a launching point to something else? There's those kinds of questions. Why it wasn't on the network. Some people think it's a cost-cutting measure, similar to why there's no more pyro, which is why you'll see Brock Lesnar come out and go, yeah, but nothing explodes behind him.
It's all that
which is the most awkward thing in the world to watch.
it's all that tout, the money that went to tout, man.
Yeah,
Sweet
That's
tout money.
Yeah, our tout's still up there. Nothing. We haven't posted anything. I don't know how.
That's right.
Tout is a very
I'm looking
complicated
through.
app.
Look, tout, if you want to sponsor the show.
Yeah, no,
by
tout.
all
Let's go
means.
tout. I'm looking through the card here at the rest of the Starrcade card. So here's what we got. So we got Bobby Roode over Dolph Ziggler, which you saw the Arn Anderson spot. Bludgeon Brothers, Mike Kanellis, the Colognes, and Rusev defeated Breezango, Sin Cara, The Ascension, and Ty Dillinger.
Okay.
Bludgeon Brothers getting a bit of a push for sure.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Naomi defeated Tamina.
Okay.
All right. So Dustin Rhodes, that was against Dash Wilder, which is exciting for me because I'm a big fan of Dash Wilder. And then we had Shinsuke defending his title against Baron Corbin, which of course Shinsuke won. And and then the Hardy
You mean
Boys came out,
Corbin
thanked
defending
everybody.
against Shinsuke?
Yes, yeah, exactly. Shinsuke, it said United States. I guess I don't know how this happened. It said Nakamura won by disqualification after Corbin used a steel chair. So that's why the title didn't change hands.
Okay.
That's what I meant. So Fatal 4-Way SmackDown Tag Team Championship match. Usos defeated The New Day, Chad Gable and Shelton Benjamin, and Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn.
Okay.
All right. The women had a championship steel cage match.
Which by all accounts was also great. Charlotte.
I heard good things about that because that was the moment where Ric Flair actually came out. So Charlotte won, and so he introduced Charlotte to the crowd, and Charlotte got she did the figure 8 and Talia tapped out. And then the last one we got was another steel cage match with AJ Styles and Jinder Mahal.
Okay.
And Styles retained by climbing out of the cage. Yeah,
Good.
that was that was the whole card. But
Yeah.
that's it's just moving storylines further, it seems.
Well,
Yeah.
some or some like Ziggler Rude. Ziggler's not been on SmackDown, I don't think, the last 3 weeks.
Right.
He wasn't on last night. It seems
Yeah.
like the Rude's new thing is going to be Baron Corbin. Shinsuke wasn't
Right.
on SmackDown last night either. And they made Baron Corbin, the way it was filmed, they made Baron Corbin look like he was 7 feet tall and Bobby Roode looked like he was 5'2".
Yeah.
It was the weirdest camera angle choices.
But Bobby Roode needs to. I don't know if the lines are being so force fed and everything, but his pauses are not as fluid as he needs to. It's bad. Like the waiting for your line thing. Like he just waits for the line and then he'll like stagger for a moment and just be like.
The line
Okay.
delivery,
Yeah.
especially in the Ruby Riott and then Charlotte segments from last night, were so bad. And Charlotte knows how to work the mic, but they were so strange. It felt like the writers, and everything felt so scripted. And Talia came out, she's like, Charlotte, I don't think we're done feuding because I lost my match. I'm just kidding. Anyway, blah, blah, blah. And I'm just like, this is all so cringy in like the worst unnatural dialogue kind of way.
Yep.
And then I feel bad for the 3 call-ups, the Ruby Riott and the Riott Squad. We now have a name for this group. Their dialogue was like, I'm Ruby Riott. This is so-and-so. I'm a farmer. this. And it was so brutally bad. Thank God the match was great, but it was like,
The match was fine.
I don't know who's doing what. It was so brutally bad.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the dialogue, like Naomi and Charlotte's back and forth, was so bad. And I agree, Bobby Roode's.
It's the things that he's in because there was he was talking about like I'm not afraid of anybody, and then Baron Corbin comes out and then he's like, so do you really think I'm afraid of you? and then it was like longest pause, and I was like, say something, please. It's so cringy. It's secondhand embarrassment.
Yeah,
It's
you
like,
know, I mean, look, not everyone can be the Rock and Stone Cold. Not everyone can have great mic skills, but maybe not everyone needs them. Like,
right.
they don't keep giving Braun Strowman 3-minute segments to talk on the mic.
Yeah.
He just comes out and destroys people. Maybe just have skilled wrestlers. Maybe not everyone needs to be great at selling things on the mic.
Yeah.
But that was
sure.
crazy because one of the biggest things people would say about Bobby Roode is how they thought he was better on the mic than he was a wrestler, and now he's just like.
I think he's nervous or something.
Yeah.
I think he's the call up is for some
tough
reason
one.
putting a lot of pressure on him, and he's adhering to the script too much. He's not putting much faith in himself, I think.
I also feel like we get like it seems like there's been enough talk about what NXT is like and all these other things. It feels like Triple H and the writers kind of treat that like Attitude Era WWE, where it's like hit these key points but go do your thing.
Yeah.
Whereas now, I mean, we've heard enough about how once you get called up, the main roster is like, here's your script.
Yeah.
Say these things.
Yeah.
And so if you've been doing like a year where you've kind of been able to kind of improv and play off people and work on your mic skills, and then you get called up and it's like, here's 3 pages of dialogue. Make sure you plug the pay-per-view, plug your match, bring up this last match, do this and do that. You're like, I just want to walk out and say I'm going to kill a guy and start the match. So yeah, I don't know, but before we get into Raw and SmackDown, Cody Rhodes issued a challenge to Daniel Bryan. Did you see this?
No, I haven't actually gotten to the details of it.
So Cody, Daniel Bryan's contract comes up in 2018, so
Right.
next year.
Yeah.
I don't know at what point. Depends on when he signed it. Usually around Mania season is when
Right.
they do a lot of the signings.
It is true, yeah. Because that's when you pull people up in April and stuff.
Yeah, so Cody Rhodes is saying he wants to challenge Daniel Bryan to a match if Bryan does not resign.
Oh.
What?
Which-
How do we feel about that?
I don't know.
Because I'm wondering because we talked a little bit about Total Divas, about his attitude of like of being on there and supporting Brie and allowing the baby to be used for it.
Yeah, and also the fact that Brie herself is saying she's training to come back
Yeah.
to WWE because she wants to do another run with Nikki as a tag team kind of thing.
So
And
would he want to stay? Yeah, would he want to stay and not jeopardize her position with the company? Because unfortunately, it does. It's just that's just the way that the
I
company
don't
works.
see him
like,
leaving
yeah.
the WWE. He's at a good spot. They respect him.
Also, on the second hand, it's like him stepping back in the ring after multiple doctors being
Yes.
like, "Don't do it." I feel like that also is another weird thing. It'd be hard to watch because you the whole time you'd almost feel guilty because
Yeah.
you know
Mhm.
this is the whole reason you haven't wrestled all this time is because you've been told specifically to stay out the
Yeah.
ring.
Well, you have that, and then you also have like I think the only way people feel comfortable is that he completely changed his style.
And he is like
Yeah.
he does the lower thing, like he does like the I forget the style, but it's like more animalistic and it's
Yeah.
closer to the ground. It's not as aerial.
Well, like Stone Cold, like if you watch Stone Cold, Steve Austin from WCW when he was the ringmaster, and right when Stone Cold started, his wrestling style was very different to then when he had the neck injury. And he's talked about that he had completely had to change his style and become like more of a brawler and less of like a grappler flyer kind of a
Yeah.
thing. So if Bryan changes his style, maybe he has submission holds. He maybe can be more of a ground guy, but yeah, I don't know because a guy like Cody Rhodes is more of like a flyer, jump off the rope
Right.
Yeah.
kind of a thing. So I don't know. I mean, it'd be huge news. Obviously,
Yeah.
it'd be a big story if
Oh,
Brian
man.
didn't sign
Yeah.
and then went to Ring of Honor.
Like
yeah.
it's very evident that he wants to wrestle.
he's
Super-
also given
yeah,
enough hints over the last 2 years.
Yeah, and so but it's just I mean he's a father now, so
I know. I feel like, but he's also still kept saying things even after the baby was born. So at this point, I feel like it's inevitable, whether it's
Yeah,
in the
oh, yeah.
WWE or not, he will get back in the ring.
Yeah.
I feel like it just, even as a father, it doesn't make you less inclined. And I'm speaking as a dad.
right.
If
but
he wants to
you're
get back in the
more-
ring.
Yeah, I need to get back in the ring. But no, like, you do want to, because, like, if you think of Daniel Bryan, his whole career and everything, if he doesn't wrestle again, that means his child would never see him wrestle. Even
Right,
though
yeah.
that's
Right.
his whole life.
Right.
So I could see as a father him wanting to at least step in the ring to
Yeah.
so his kid can at least watch his
Right.
dad
Right.
do what he does.
And the thing is, because I say this about Kevin Owens too, is the job security and the money from WWE. That's the what it comes down to as well.
Mhm.
Because Kevin Owens, he does a good job of making sure that he knows the position in the back, like everything that people are doing, because he wants to be nothing. He wants to be useful in every regard. He's good on commentary. He's good on everything. So if he were to get injured, he would have a position in the company.
Smart.
Yeah.
And because he's smart. And so that's the thing too, is like, I don't know if Daniel Bryan's just willing to accept, like, okay, well, you know, this is going to be better for my child in the long run, or that. But that is a good point. Like, I agree that he would want his kid to see him wrestle.
Yeah, so we'll see. I mean, it'll be interesting.
shall see.
And I love that Cody Rhodes keeps issuing challenges to people.
Yeah.
Cody Rhodes is just
I feel like
Cody Rhodes killing it.
Cody Rhodes I feel like is really accomplishing what he set out to do. Not
Yeah.
only making
Yeah.
a name for himself, but also just shaking up the wrestling world. Whereas,
Yeah.
like, and also I feel like showing people like WWE isn't the only place to watch
Mhm.
wrestling. You
Right.
can watch this, and I feel like, you know, whether he'll admit it or not, that has to get under Vince's skin a bit.
Mhm.
Because,
Oh,
you know, for
yeah.
a while, WWE was wrestling. That's all you could do wrestling. Now you got New Japan. You got Kenny Omega doing shit all over here. Now you
Mhm.
got Cody Rhodes bringing, you know, Ring of Honor to a bigger stage. Like, you, as Vince, you have to be like, fuck, I should have just pushed him. Now,
yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
it sends me some delight when I hear wrestlers deny WWE.
Mhm.
Yeah.
You know, sorry,
Yeah.
I
Oh,
can
yeah.
do better on my own. I'm happier
Yeah.
on my own.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh,
Yeah, and I will
Uh,
say it's also kind of a bummer to some extent because I love Cody, and it kind of shows you what CM Punk could have done.
Yeah.
I mean,
Right.
good for Punk, and I love Punk. Good for Punk for going after his other passions, being UFC and comic book writing and things of that nature. And I totally get it if he's like, I'm done with wrestling, period. But
Right.
you look at Cody and you're like, man, Punk could have done this.
Mhm.
Like, what's happening in New Japan and what's happening with Ring of Honor now being really mainstream could have happened 3 years ago.
Oh, yeah.
If Punk was like, I'm out, after the lawsuit was then like he signed on to New Japan or Ring of Honor.
Yeah,
That
because
would've
been
yeah,
huge.
exactly.
Do you guys know what he's doing now? Right now?
He's about to appear at the next UFC event in
Fight or appear?
appear.
Just
Okay.
appearance. Yeah.
There has not been a second match named yet, but it's said by all accounts it's going to happen at the UFC. He's going to have a
Yeah.
second UFC match. I'll watch it. I'm interested. I think we'll see what happens after that.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, just as a like combat sports fan, like losing is the part of the UFC. Like, I know it was all jokes
Oh, yeah.
and people making fun
Mhm.
of it, but if you look at guys like Anderson Silva, like, you know, before he went on that streak, he had losses, and even
Mhm.
after the loss, he's been able to get a few wins there. Look at GSP; he just had a huge win after being on a streak and then
Right.
losing. Then you have some guys who lost a lot. Then like Nick Diaz, you know, he did not have a great record before he beat McGregor. You know, so like it's losing is all part of combat sports, and just because he lost doesn't mean it's over for him. But it definitely killed the confidence because you come from a world where like you are perceived as the greatest in this. I think it's just we see it all different types of ways. Whenever you see like actors move to music or music's move to acting, whenever you move out of a world where you are the top dog and you get humbled, it is like a tough pill to swallow.
Right.
Well, I think my favorite tweet
true.
that came from that, and I can't remember who said it, but some because the big joke people kept making about CM Punk was he didn't even last a round, blah blah blah
Yeah.
blah 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 blah, and it's not fair to her either, but someone was like he lasted longer than Rousey's 2 last
Yeah.
bouts,
Yeah.
which
I
is
mean-
not nothing to sneeze at.
Yeah.
I mean, but it is like it is like that is something to think about. Where it's like the best, she was the best women's fighter,
Yeah.
and she got, you know, she was
Yep.
drinking her Kool-Aid a bit. It's almost like they lost by the same way, which is drinking their own Kool-Aid.
Mhm.
Which I
Mhm.
feel like I think CM thought he was going to step in and he was going to make short work. But it's hard, you know, it's hard to think on your feet when you're getting pummeled in the face. It
Yep.
really is.
I Mickey
like-
Gall, and he made his name off of CM Punk. Like that was
Yeah.
So that
well,
was
Punk's biggest mistake was rushing at the
Yeah.
start and then tripping.
Yeah.
Beginning. That's right. I was really rooting for that guy. And good for Mickey Gall too, but I was really rooting for him. And the minute that match started and he ran and tripped at the beginning, I was like, God damn, Vince came. He wasn't even watching him. Vince McMahon just had an orgasm. Like, literally tripped out the gate.
Oh
And I
my
love
God.
CM Punk. I really do. And I hope he wins. I hope he has a great second match. I hope I hope he wins, you know, and I hope he just like everyone in WWE just rubs it in their face that he's like, I did it.
Yeah.
But they're actually there is a great documentary I think called The Rise of Punk or The Evolution of Punk. And it's like a 40-minute documentary. It's him and AJ. UFC made it. It was officially UFC documentary about his road to the first match.
Speaking of documentaries, anybody here watch that Jim and Andy doc yet?
I did.
It's
Man.
a lot that
Jerry Lawler.
Jerry Lawler has a big it's interesting, and I feel you feel bad for Jerry Lawler.
Oh
my gosh, you
Really?
feel bad. Oh yeah, so
I can do this to you at any second. You know that.
Yeah, do you are you familiar with what the documentary is about?
Isn't that
It's about Jim Carrey playing Andy Kaufman, and he goes
right.
super method, and they've had this footage for a long time, but they asked him not to release it because it'd make him look like a dick, and it does, but like it's like two-sided. Like I just recently came from a podcast where it was like Jim Carrey's like his impression of how well his method acting was is overrated, but what's underrated is how good his method acting was. Like it's you have to separate, like you kind of have to separate the two, where it's like it's good method acting, but he is also still being a dick. And like they're doing these interviews with Jerry Lawler, and he's like, me and Andy were friends. He was professional the whole time, but Jim kept antagonizing him on the set.
He was playing
and, like,
the wrestling version of Andy.
Yeah, that was the thing. And I said it's very much like someone who like is a fan of a character comedian and think they're like that all the time.
Right.
Where it was like, no, it was all a work, but it was very interesting because through that it made me jump off and kind of look at that run with Andy and Jerry, and it kind of brought wrestling to kind of a forefront in Hollywood.
Right.
And like it was crazy because like I remember there was like a scene where like Jerry's like, thank you for what you've done for wrestling. Like and that was in the movie. I don't know if he's actually said it, but like Jerry is playing himself, so I doubt he would say something he didn't say or didn't mean at that time.
I can't wait to. I'm gonna watch that tonight because we love. Because Andy and I will go back and watch like those promos. You know, it's like this is a bar of soap. It's not pronounced soap.
But it's so funny because like it is like it goes to show you like because now there's a big boom in comedians loving wrestling. And I think back then, like, it just goes to show you how ahead of his time Andy was, because Andy's like, I'm this character act. He was so enamored by kayfabe. He was like, oh, this is what I like doing. Like, you guys are doing the same thing. And it was like the whole intergendered wrestling champion and like wrestling women. Like, he was
great.
Being full heel.
He totally,
100%. It was like so, like, it was like, yeah, you got it, and like you did this dope.
He was
thing.
way ahead of his time. Yeah,
just seeing how it just played in Memphis when he comes, and then they like, it was like he wrote a better like story than a lot of stories that are out right now in the WWE, where it just led to Memphis, and then Jerry interrupts a match, and then like it was like. Wow.
Which then goes to David Letterman, which is like that's the crazy like that people might not understand now because it happened. It's in the past, so people might play it down. For like wrestling, kayfabe, a wrestler and a celebrity who at that point Andy Kaufman's like on Taxi, biggest show, one of the biggest shows in the world. The equivalency would literally be like if people still thought kayfabe was real, like wrestling, people were like, I don't know, it might be real. And fucking Jim Parsons went on playing a sexist homophobe or something. Yeah. And then got beat up by Brock Lesnar. Yeah. And then him and Brock fought each other on Jimmy Fallon. People would be like, what's happening?
Yeah, totally. Yep.
Yeah.
Brock Lesnar killed Jim Parsons.
Oh,
it's so crazy.
With they showing up with the neck brace.
Jim Parsons.
It was so good, God.
But yeah, the Jim and Andy documentary, and also I tweeted out that I watched. I was like, I thought this was super interesting and fascinating, and a bunch of people hit me up on Twitter. And you take away whatever you take away from films. Some people are like, I will never watch anything with Jim Carrey until he apologizes for how he acted on the set.
Oh my God!
I was like. Man, you don't know enough artists. People act like this on a sketch shoot. Nowhere. You get paid $10.
Yeah. Oh man.
Like this ain't shit.
Here's the thing, and I was thinking about this today, and I forgot to say it. Is like you get away with that when it works. Like Jim got away with that because he got an Oscar after it. Heath Ledger got away with locking himself in a room and like scribbling on paper because his Joker was good. Then you have someone like Jared Leto who does it, and then you watch their Joker and you're like,
yeah.
Like Daniel Day-Lewis, I'm sure he's so insufferable, but when you see it work,
Yes.
you kind of are like, all right, we'll do it. And you'll see, like, you see the director kind of like you talked about this conversation.
Milos Forman.
Yeah. When he talked about that phone call, when he was like, and the director called him and was like, well, do you want to fire Andy and what's the other?
Oh,
character?
Tony Clifton.
And Tony, because I can do impressions of them. And then he's like, no, I just wanted to hear the real Jerry, the real Jimmy. And like part of me was like, man, that's dope. But part of me is like, also probably was like, because Jim doing an impression is way more expensive than hiring Andy. like I'm sure there was like a level of like, but like it is like, it was work, but I felt bad for Jerry the King Lawler.
Oh my God!
So,
but he owns it too. He also like there's a moment where like Jim Carrey just keeps nudging him and nudging it like for hours. Because if you've ever been on a film set, it's what could be a 2-minute scene in a movie took 3 days to shoot. You were on sets for 10 hours. Sometimes. So who knows how long Jim Carrey was just fucking nudging this guy forever and just being like, and would put like signs on his back that's like Hogan wannabe and all this other stuff just to keep antagonizing Jerry Lawler. So Jerry Lawler's just kind of like, okay. Okay. And then at one point, like Jim Carrey starts walking away and you just see the cameras follow as Lawler runs after him. You don't see what happens. You just see like a crowd trying to break him up and you just hear Lawler going, I can do this to you at any minute. You need to know that right now. I can do this to you at any minute. And Jim Carrey's Andy Kaufman's going, okay.
My favorite thing.
And I was like,
I can't wait to watch
old
this.
School wrestling. That is old school.
I'm gonna watch it tonight.
You're not gonna do business? I'll break your leg.
Yeah. Exactly. I mean, that's like when what was it, Kurt Angle, like that when they tried to, I forgot what the guy's name is, the UFC
the
guy.
Tough Enough guy.
Yeah, the Tough Enough guy who came in and tried to because the whole bit was Daniel Puder. Everybody was supposed to come in and just get worked by Angle, and then he came in. He was like, "No!" Like he tried to change the bit, and then Kurt. So he was trying to like actually like so he was like stiffing Kurt, and then Kurt grabbed. Yeah, he was like, "I'm gonna break your fucking arm!" Like like it's crazy. That was so good, but exactly. It's like you don't mess around with people like that.
Yeah, especially like an Olympic wrestler. Come on, out of all the ones, that's
exactly. Yeah,
try and get over on
like Kurt Angle. Like Kurt Angle is
That's so good.
Yeah, but it's so good. Like it culminates to the perfect moment where Jim talks about. He's like, they're getting ready to do the scene on Letterman where Jerry slaps him, and he goes, and right before the director yelled action, I leaned over to Jerry and says, hit me for real. And you can see that man let out all the aggression.
Oh my God, the hit.
But then you see it lead to like, it was, I will say, the performance was so good, I thought Jim Carrey wasn't acting until I realized that he was doing Andy. And I was like, fuck. All right.
That's where it pays off.
Nice.
That's where all this torment pays off.
Like you see it, like you can even hear somebody in the back go, oh. That's how hard Jerry slapped Jim Carrey.
It's so funny because so many people are like, Jim Carrey's an asshole. And then my buddy Jesse was like, I watched that. And then I was like, I'm going to go watch The Mask.
Oh my God.
And I'm like, I feel bad because I'm the same way.
Oh, yeah.
Like someone terrible gets named in Hollywood for being a terrible douchebag. And I'm like, oh, that's awful. I haven't seen that movie in a while.
Let me go check it out.
Was any of that present in this film?
Oh my
But yeah, so let's talk about Raw and SmackDown briefly. Not much happened post Thanksgiving. I think a lot of wrestlers didn't return.
Yeah.
Just gone. Dean Ambrose and Renee gone.
Yeah, Roman has got the title. Miz is shooting.
Not just the Miz. So many wrestlers left this week because they're going to go shoot the Marines. Apparently, the Marine 6 is going to be the Avengers of the goddamn Marine movies.
Oh my
It's like so many wrestlers got injured.
Yeah,
injured. So they're out. So we got the Miz is out for God knows how long. So now the new Miz is the Drifter, which made my night. He adopted the Miz Taraj and had
that's amazing.
Like him?
I love the Drifter. This is why, but that's why
He's good.
I love the Drifter is Andy Kaufman to me.
Yeah, dude. I was just thinking,
so
he's good at working.
annoying.
Yeah,
It's so irritating,
Yeah, he is.
and fans hate him.
I hate him.
And WWE knows it,
Yeah.
so they
Yeah.
lean into it, and
Yeah.
it's my favorite thing.
yeah.
It's always like way too long.
Oh, that's the best part,
point.
too.
That's the point. So like Andy and I were just like, man, this guy's good.
He is a
Fucking-
Tim and Eric character
Yeah.
somehow put into a
Yes,
wrestling
yes,
scenario.
totally, 100.
I expect to see the Drifter on Dr. Street Brawl. It'll happen.
Oh.
So I guess he adopted the Miztourage, which was great because then he's doing his songs, and then Bo Dallas and Curtis Axel start playing harmonica.
Yeah.
They double
I was
down.
impressed though with that. By
Yeah,
the way. They were
yeah.
pretty good.
So we got a full-on concert. I thought that was
Yeah.
great because it was so cheesy. But all the matches were super long too on Raw because again a lot of people weren't there.
Yeah, so they just
So
filled the time with
Rollins Cesaro match, which was a good match, went for like 4 or 5 commercial breaks. Like it was
Wow.
a
Well, the
chunky
women's
match.
matches were pretty short.
Yeah.
Asuka one.
Oh yeah, so I get
Apparently,
those.
Booker said something like about like, oh, I don't know why they're having a singles match when they're have a tag team feud or something. And then Corey was like, why are you saying that?
Can we talk about Booker T for a minute? Can we
he
talk?
is a
he-
riot though.
Uncle Booker.
Uncle Booker T. Whereas I like the Elias character because it's all on purpose. It's
Yeah.
like on purpose bad, so people like get angry and he leans into it. Booker T. For me has literally ruined pay-per-views with some of his match calling. As awesome as the Kurt Angle return was with the Shield. I ended up muting most of it because Booker T, the way he
Wow,
calls
really?
stuff. Because now this is the problem too. Is every commentator, and Corey Graves is a little guilty of it too, but at least Corey Graves is a better commentator. There's no longer just like the face or heel commentator. So Booker T will be like, Kurt Angle shouldn't have gotten involved. He should know better. If he gets injured, that's his fault.
Mhm.
And then the next match, he'll be on the side of the face that's like, you gotta give it up for Bailey.
That's
She
why
never gives up. And I'm like,
Yeah.
who are you rooting for?
That's
Yeah.
why I like to call him Uncle Booker. It's like your uncle watching
Yeah.
wrestling
Yeah.
with you,
Like-
giving his like.
I
giving his-
actually enjoy his commentary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the number of times he just says things, but I love this is why I love Corey Graves. Is Booker T will say stuff like, it's like this thing in the 90s and trail off. And then Corey Graves you'll kill Corey Graves laughing and go, what are you talking about?
I love that Corey Graves calls him out all the time.
That I far more enjoy.
And then they argue sometimes. They have
Yeah.
a little bicker.
But there, and like sometimes it's like for the most part I don't mind it, but there will be the kid like the Kurt Angle match, like he would not stop, and he just kept repeating the same thing, like Kurt Angle shouldn't be in this.
Yeah.
And you kind of want, and Michael Cole I think eventually even went like, we get it, Booker, which I'm like,
Yeah.
is Vince McMahon not in Booker T's ear like he's
Yeah.
in every
Yeah,
other
yeah,
ear?
everyone has
yeah,
a-
I mean, that's
Look, you know, you have free reign after
I know.
Forever. I'm
Yeah,
so
yeah,
sorry.
I'm sorry. You know, I don't know why we went through with it.
Oh my
Put you
God.
right there next to me.
And I'm not anti Booker T. Like he did a lot. He paved a lot of ways. He's a really good.
Better
he was a
than
really
David
super talented
Otunga.
wrestler.
Better than David
Who-
Otunga.
Oh.
David Otunga's got his own life drama
Yeah,
going on
I mean,
right
and-
now.
yeah.
He has a IRL drama.
Wait, what's,
Yeah,
what's
in
going
real
on
life
with
drama.
him?
Oh, him and J Hud, they're going through a whole divorce type.
Oh,
settlement
so
battle.
we won't see a tongue in there anymore.
Yeah,
Not for a little
'cause
while.
that-
Yeah,
yeah.
that's what kept him
But
An Academy Award rub.
but yeah, really long matches. I guess the biggest thing was probably the stuff that happened with the women because so Paige came out and was like, and I saw you write a little tweet about this where she was like, I'm the one who got rid of the word diva
like, shut
because
up.
of me, which was Emma's bit essentially before they fired her. So I don't know what the idea here is. I liked her return last week. This week with the group, it feels weird only because you have these other two people who are just like, I'm here because of Paige and Paige is the best, which is fine if SmackDown didn't also have 3 call-ups that have no mention of Paige.
Right.
Right.
Like it'd be different if like Paige brought up all these women.
Yeah.
It was this weird, interesting stable of going through all these people, but like SmackDown's completely ignoring it.
I mean, okay, I do want to see Paige versus Asuka. That's the one thing
I think
wanna
that'd be
see.
good. Yes.
But
Mm.
I do think Paige should have re-debuted on SmackDown.
Mhm.
That faction could have done better on
Right,
SmackDown.
well,
because
yeah,
we
I-
need more like of those.
Yeah,
heavy
if they
hitters.
just had a connection between them, then it would make sense. There's just no logic. Like,
Well,
it's
I think it's like the case of they want to make somebody who it looks like Asuka could go against because at this point now Asuka's been involved with
She
like
looks
2 or
terribly strong.
terribly strong, but she's also
In
been
a
involved
way.
like 2 or 3 different 5-way matches now where she's won. So now it's like
Mhm.
all the women who before Paige came up, all the women who were already on the card, Asuka's beaten.
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
who is she going to fight at Royal Rumble or WrestleMania?
I
kind
hope
of a
she
thing?
beats Paige though, because
I think it is going to be Paige. I think they're leaning towards that. Although they did have
Aw.
Tried looking for the clip.
No, you're good.
Yeah, there's no clip.
The writing wasn't great, but then you got Asuka actually broke a record this Monday by the quickest clean win in WWE history.
Really?
And quickest submission. I think we can actually just show this because it is literally
It's so quick.
a 10-second long match. Actually, let me go here.
Poor Brookie. Yeah, but while you look for that, I feel like they should have put Paige and then Sonya and Mandy on SmackDown and the other ones reversed because we already have like a Carmella and Liv. They're the same people.
Yeah, they're the same.
Well, and you also had a point about Paige being like, I'm the one who got rid of Diva.
Yeah, but she looks like a Kardashian now.
Well, it's also the complete ignoring of AJ Lee, which we've talked about.
Yes, the AJ Lee
Just
thing.
scrubbed it
That's
from the books.
huge.
They have completely gotten rid of AJ Lee. If there was that documentary on the network like a year or two ago, the Women's
they cut
Revolution.
her out of that tag match.
They never talked about her.
They no shots of her in that WrestleMania match.
Yeah, you would have thought that WrestleMania
With
match
Paige,
was a
right?
handicap match
Yeah.
with Paige. So this
horrible.
is the Asuka match that happened on Monday, 2 days ago.
Corey, I give Dana Brooke all the credit in the world because she's out here to challenge Asuka again.
Oh, she doesn't think Asuka should.
Oh, look at Dana Brooke and Asuka quickly into the Asuka lock.
Yeah.
Wow. I mean,
She's so good.
That's
with
fine.
food.
Well, it's so
Dana
funny,
cracks me
like,
up. Dana.
Any other match that ended that quickly, you'd be like, come on. But like it being done that way, you're like,
Yeah.
all right, yep.
It looked great.
Yep.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
and
it
that,
was real
that's the thing
smooth.
is I love like Dana is I really like Dana Brooke a lot, and
Mm-hmm.
she sold that easy. Like
Yeah.
she's just like whatever. Like she's a crybaby. That's
Yeah.
you know, and it works.
And then the big thing was Paige and her group came out after this, but not before Asuka pretty much danced for a minute and a half,
She's
which
so
is
fun.
They have
She's
to fill
so
that
fun.
time.
my favorite thing.
Wait a minute. Look who's back.
But this is where I talk about too that things are a little awkward storytelling wise in this because what you have, so they surround the ring because at this point they'd already beaten up Sasha Banks with
Yeah.
this shield like surround the ring
Felt
thing,
bad for Sasha.
and then Asuka's looking at all of them. Paige does this wave, and Asuka leaves, and this is just WWE storytelling. You're like, because of the smiles that Asuka was doing and Paige as well, you're like, well, are they going to fight or is this going to be an alliance? Like it wasn't
Right.
super clear.
I think they're gonna fight.
I think they're going to fight too, but it wasn't the clearest thing in the world.
I know, because it seems like it's trying to be like, yeah, you're not gonna do shit.
I
but
mean,
like,
If they had an alliance, who would you want to see like them go up against and lose?
I
to
know
them?
that's
You know what I
that's the
mean?
problem too.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
Asuka is the one true Brock Lesnar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then real quick too, Samoa Joe looks like he's going to be feuding with Reigns for the belt, which I'm glad. I like Samoa Joe being
Yeah.
in the picture in a big way.
Yep.
They're already kind of teasing the Shield breakup already.
Yeah.
I know that was
just got a
weird.
taste.
I know.
we just
Well,
got a taste.
and it was only teased, not even with Reigns winning the belt, but with Rollins being on the mic going like, I haven't talked to Dean. He's on his honeymoon. But
And
look, rumors about us breaking up, not true.
Yeah, you have to put that denial out there. Damn.
So we'll see. Yeah, those kind of was a big thing on Raw. And then Kane had 2 matches in a row. First against Jason Jordan, and then against Finn. But
Sad.
poor Finn, man.
Yeah.
So
Jobbing.
there was a rumor about a week or two ago that originally the plans were for Finn to be Brock Lesnar's next opponent going into Rumble. That's who he's going to face at Rumble.
Mhm.
And then word is that Vince McMahon is now very cold on Finn and doesn't think he has charisma.
Well, the problem
and
is,
cannot sell tickets.
I think
Oh,
the-
because he's got an accent. That's why.
I think the problem is like everyone loves the demon, but they can't use that very often,
Yeah.
so they don't know what to do with Finn, basic Finn. You know.
Well, it's also, and that's a booking thing too, where it's
Yeah.
like
Them
similar with
against
Cesaro.
Bray, and the fell flat. And that's what it is. It's like the whole mistake. Like it was. They shouldn't have been built at all.
Well,
Like,
it's also you put him in a 5-month feud with fucking Bray Wyatt. So
Yeah.
it's
Yeah,
like, what do
that's
you think
what
was gonna?
it's-
And I like Bray, but it is like,
that's
what
what.
were you,
Yeah.
what were you gonna do?
With Bray? It's like the booking against him was stupid because that Sister Abigail thing just like totally cooled him down.
Mhm.
Ridiculous.
But the best thing is that WWE put out a poll, being like, who of the Raw superstars would you like to go see face against Brock Lesnar? And Finn won by 67%.
Really?
So he retweeted that with a smirk emoji.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
So good for
nice.
him. And the other big thing on Raw, of course, is it looks like we are going to get broken Matt Hardy or woken Matt Hardy.
Oh yeah.
He lost to
right.
Bray, and Bray left. The camera stayed on him, and he started doing
Yeah.
delete while sitting there and looking furious. And then his Twitter that whole night was, "I need to get an army to fight for my my battle is against evil, and this and the other people are like, oh, it's beginning.
Oh dear.
And the crowd got super into it. So those are the big things on Raw. And SmackDown. SmackDown was okay. I think actually like
It was built around Kevin.
built around Kevin, which isn't bad.
Not for you.
Yeah, not for me. I know. I was glad he's in the main event. But it's against. I mean, he's feuding against Randy Orton. It was a no DQ match. Sammy was banned from ringside, and Sammy still came out because it's no DQ.
Well, and also wasn't ringside.
Well,
He
that's
came
right.
out on the
That's
ramp.
right. They're on the ramp.
So that's what they're going to
So
use.
he helped, and so he won. So Kevin won against Randy Orton.
I thought it was actually a pretty good match. I thought it was actually a pretty
it was
brutal, hard-hitting match.
Lots of kendo sticks.
Kendo sticks. I mean, it's kind of one of those things. Randy Orton, we've talked about, despite his being a douchebag in real life.
Yeah.
If you give him a match he can care about, he puts on a pretty good match.
Yeah.
And he put on a pretty good match here. I'll also say we've sometimes talked about style on the show. Jinder Mahal needs to cut his hair. It is getting a little crazy.
Yeah.
It's God love you, Jinder Mahal. It's getting a little too shaggy, a little too wild.
I don't feel so bad about hating on too much makeup when you're talking about Jinder Mahal's hair.
I didn't say. What are you? I didn't give you shit about hitting on the makeup. But
About
on the hair
page.
front,
Yeah.
Randy Orton kind of having that little thing. I'm like, that's good.
Yeah, it
Considering
looks
he's
good.
been mostly bald thing for like the last 10 years.
I hope those two are like one of those things where they actually just don't like each other in real life, but put on really good matches. Like I think that's going to be
Kevin
the case.
Owens and Randy
Yeah,
Orton?
Kevin Owens.
I think if you hate each other, you'd probably pull better matches.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because
Oh, yeah.
sometimes the chemistry just works.
Putting a little umph.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And again, no fallout from Survivor Series as far as like Triple H was not on Raw this week.
No.
John Cena never mentioned. So
So weird. He
Everybody's
just,
got
like,
it's a
disappeared.
ghost town.
John Cena is the ghost of WWE, just appearing every once in a while when the moon sets just at the right moment. And the other thing too was AJ Styles won in a triple threat. Speaking of Jinder Mahal, where then Jinder Mahal just ragdolled the Singh brothers, like to the point where I was like, that didn't look safe at all.
That's what they do.
That might be a split. No.
That's what the Singh brothers do.
I know. I want to see if I can find this because this just didn't look safe at all. It's probably in regular WWE's. But so the women's match, despite the writing, which I thought was terrible, and Natalya leaving in the beginning, which you're like, okay. But outside of that, I actually thought it was a pretty good match.
Yeah, it was their in-ring debut. It was the Riot Squad's first in-ring.
Wasn't there some kind of beef also with general manager and commissioner?
Yes.
Oh yeah,
they
Daniel
were
Bryan.
like, Shane was very upset that Daniel Bryan did not fire Kevin
Yeah.
Owens like he said he was going to do. He was very upset. And then Daniel Bryan was like, "Look, I've been fired, so I know what it's like to have, and it sucks. So I didn't fire them." And you're like, okay. So this is the ragdolling I'm talking about, and this just. Here's the thing about wrestling. You're supposed to keep your opponent safe. That's the whole point, is like make it look brutal, but honestly keep your person safe. We saw that when Braun Strowman put Kane on the stairs. That was the most gingerly putting a man on some metal stairs that I've ever seen in wrestling.
Gingerly.
Like real, like.
Yeah.
Oh God, please don't hurt Kane. This is the opposite of that.
I don't blame him.
So that one wasn't too bad.
No, it's fine.
It's what he does to the other one.
Maho's not done.
Oh.
Jinder over here got that
Six-
Manzukis look going
Yeah,
on.
right. That picture looks like Jason Mantzoukas. Yeah.
Jason Manzukis.
So that just looked like that hurt like all hell. And same with the women's match with Naomi. I showed this a little bit earlier. But they did not gingerly throw her into the side. So Naomi's also quote unquote out on injury because she's also in the Marine Six. So she's gonna be out for a little while. But we need to check out this throwing into the side. I think both women got very overzealous.
2-on-1 here against Naomi.
She's like, what the hell?
Like one was like, we got to throw her into the barricade. The other was like, we got to throw her to the floor. And Naomi kind of just comboed it.
Like diagonal. She's like,
But this is supposedly what's taking Naomi out is this move.
What is this one? What is her character?
Which one?
Not Liv. Is she a wolf or like a wild woman? Is that what she's supposed to be?
Yeah, the good dick. Whose character?
Is she supposed to be like? What is her character?
Hunter.
Hunter. Okay, like
she
wild.
comes from a family of hunters, and she's on the hunt.
Which one's the
I
farmer?
feel like they were watching Skyrim or something.
She's a farmer hunter.
Oh, okay. Farmer.
Yeah.
Okay.
Matt Fowler over at IGN said this feels like a glow.
Yeah.
I'm the farmer. I'm gonna take you
I'm
out.
a beekeeper.
But overall, I thought it was a good match. And Ruby Riott pinned Charlotte and got the 1-2-3, which is good, big for Ruby Riott.
Makes her look really good.
Makes her look really good.
Yeah.
And then like I said, the Randy Orton Kevin Owens was I thought a pretty strong match.
Yeah.
Pretty brutal with the kendo sticks. As someone who's been hit with a kendo stick, those guys. I mean, Kevin Owens got opened up on his arm. He was bleeding from his arm and stuff like that. So pretty brutal match for what is
He's like, this is for the vaping comment.
Yeah, that's right. I did forget about that. There might have been some of that in there.
Yeah.
Overall, a pretty good SmackDown. I think better than Raw, despite Raw having longer matches.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean,
I didn't watch Raw. I watched SmackDown though, but yeah. Seems like it was pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's wrestling this week, and we got a challenge. We got
a challenge. All right, we got to settle this. We're gonna eat some peppers. Corey's just gonna take a bite of one.
How
We're
are
gonna
we
be gentle?
Yeah.
But let's do this. All right, we're gonna have some. Matt. Yeah, there we go. Yo. We got to bring in our referee. Our referee.
All right, get on. Let's go.
All right.
Let's do it. All right, come on. Celebrity deathmatch style.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You learn how to ref.
Put on the
Oh yeah, the lucha mask.
That's all I see is celebrity deathmatch.
Masks. Put them on. Put them
All
on.
right, so you know the rules. Elbows off the table. I will reset you.
Yeah.
Not bend of the wrist.
If it'll fit.
What's that?
Oh, sorry. I was looking to see if it fits. Hey, it looks good.
Let's make it clean.
That's as much as that
No
one.
elbows
Going
off the
down.
table.
Wait.
It's probably just like it.
you got
It's
it.
just
No
the- it's just
flimsy wrists.
All right.
Here we go.
All right, here we go.
Pure strength.
Pure strength.
All right, y'all. Here we go. When I release my hand, you can go.
All right.
Yeah. Here we go. Go. Okay. 2 out of 3. 2 out of 3.
2 out of 3. You really want to do this?
Round 2. Go.
Oh. Okay.
Dude, if he like deadlifts like.
Fair enough.
Well done, second round, though.
man.
Nice attempt.
I tried
Thank you,
real
referee.
hard.
That was good.
So that means
thank you, referee.
that means Iffy's got the belt now.
All right, Iffy.
Full Stone Cold. Or Triple H.
Triple H. All right, we got a few different peppers to choose from. We have the habanero, we have the serrano, and we have the jalapeno. Jalapeno should be not as spicy.
Man, this mask makes
Not
my
as
mustache
spicy.
pop, man.
Where's the other one? I don't know where the serranos went.
All right,
wow.
so Iffy's got the belt now. So he's the defender
We'll just
next
take a bite
next
of
month.
the habanero.
Okay.
Habanero.
And actually,
Habanero.
while you guys are getting that ready, I will say the next pay-per-view is Clash of Champions in 2 weeks. Then we got Royal Rumble. So there's not a Raw branded
Thank you.
pay-per-view till February, which kind of gives
Oh,
Raw
really?
the chance
It's not
to
a
kind of
Raw until February?
a Raw branded pay-per-view.
All right.
That long?
Yeah, because next month, this month's December's Clash of Champions, and then the Rumble.
Oh yeah.
Which the Rumble, I want to come up with some, not just our normal who's going to win what match. I want to do order.
Ooh. Oh yeah, that'll be good. Okay,
And
we'll
who
do that.
might return, because the Rumble's
might
a big
return.
return show.
All right. Cheers, me, bro.
Cheers.
Cheers. Okay.
We are in this.
Congrats.
Yep.
Oh, you took a nice, huge, chunky bite.
Oh, that was immediately spicy.
That's spicy.
Ooh, big old.
You just took a
Oh, yeah.
bite.
It's deep in there.
Like the owl.
All right.
Yeah.
All right, everybody. Let's go around the horn and tell everybody where you can find us. Where can people find you online?
I'll go first. You can find me at KAORIOUS everywhere.
At Janelle Santa Cruz on everything. I play professional. I play competitive Overwatch.
I was
With
about to
Andy.
say professional.
I'm
I'm like,
professional.
man, you did it?
No. Yeah, competitive Overwatch on Twitch. At Janelle Santa Cruz everywhere.
As for me, oh man.
Hiccups.
As for me, you can find me on twitter.com/JurassicAlien. That's where I can be. That's where I can be found on the regular.
Oh my God.
I write Power Rangers RPG. Oh, and Thursdays I do a horror RPG now. And then I'm writing and GMing. And that's the main stuff. Also, Hyper Sketch is December 16th.
December 16th.
Hey, what's up? It's your boy, just chilling here. You can find me at IfYWay on Twitter and Instagram, holding it down without a frown. And I'm on my Twitch at IfDeez and Hyper RPG here Wednesdays for Vanquish. Make sure you catch that. And, all around the time. So just subscribe to both. All right.
Bye.
All right, y'all. Go watch wrestling.
Go watch wrestling.